Man, it was deleted on Facebook because I didn't start on time. Okay, we are live. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. I'm sorry I'm starting the show a little late this morning. I had a little technical hiccup called an alarm clock that didn't work the way it's supposed to work this morning. Today it chose to do what it needed to do, but we're getting started. We've got two of our sponsors on already, and it is going to be a fantastic day. Let's talk about TrueVOICE. TrueVOICE is a system we put together quite a while ago, and it's been working for thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs and business leaders. And the whole goal for TrueVOICE is to teach people systems and tools, strategies that they can build better relationships through greater conversation. And a lot of times when you meet somebody for the first time and you're trying to figure out how we can get engaged and how we can do things with one another, you don't necessarily know how to do it. TrueVOICE is the way to make things happen. Now, what we're going to do over the course of the day is we're going to go through every step of the TrueVOICE process, and together we're going to create a whole TrueVOICE profile for yourself, and then you're going to learn how to interview and communicate to others that you need to get closer to. Now, this is a program we use in my good organization called the Roundtable. We use the program quite a bit to help people grow. But before we get into that, we're going to take some time to get to know our sponsors and really talk to them about their business and talk to them about who they are and why they supported this wonderful conference we're going to have for the rest of the day. And hopefully, if they have time, they'll hang in there with us for the rest of the day. But those who don't, they can jump in and out, go. I know Jennifer's got cookies to make, and Ron's probably got some things to do too because we're all getting ready for the holidays. And so I just appreciate any time they can spend with us. So you guys, the link will be open, so you can just come in and out whenever you want to. Okay, so we're going to start off with introductions, and we'll start off with Jennifer. Jennifer, why don't you tell us about yourself?
All right. Good morning, my friends. I'm Jennifer Rose, Executive Director of the Central Fairfax Chamber of Commerce. We've been serving the city of Fairfax and its suburbs for more than 60 years. We support the small business community, following a lot of the same values I think that Marvin's TrueVOICE system has. We love to communicate, encourage, collaborate, and do what we can do to help make small businesses grow, thrive, succeed. After the last almost 2 years, even survive. We do a lot of supportive services for our members that include networking, advocacy, marketing, education, and cost savings programs. We try to eliminate some of those pain points for our business owners. I know you guys, it's a lonely world for you. It's hard work, and you need more time and more money. And my little Chamber of Commerce here in the city of Fairfax works to help provide you with more of those two very precious resources. So happy to be with you this morning, Marvin.
Happy to be here today. I got some fans on the line. We're going to do some great things together. Nancy is here, and some other friends of mine are here, so we're going to have a good time today. The next introduction we're going to have is Ron. Ron, why don't you tell us about yourself?
All right, thanks, Marvin. Yeah, I'm Ron Moore. I'm with Schooley Mitchell, and Schooley Mitchell has been for more than 20 years in the business of helping other businesses by identifying, monitoring what you're spending for the basic services every business has, like phone, internet, waste disposal, other areas. And we show you ways that you can receive that same level of service you currently get and pay less for it, so you have more money available to invest back in your business and increase your profits. And we work with nonprofit organizations as well. Our compensation is based on a share of the savings, so we try to make this as risk-free as possible. On the rare occasion where we're not able to help someone, we don't expect them to compensate us in any way. So we try to genuinely try to make this a positive experience for all our clients in every possible way.
Fantastic. While I got you both on the line, why don't you do me a favor and tell our audience a little bit about the Roundtable?
Oh, I love the Roundtable. I guess the Chamber has been a part of the Roundtable since, 2018, 2019, Marvin? And it is a great weekly meeting, a great way to restore your soul after a hard week. Great family. There's a lot of wonderful edumacation, as Darren calls it, from Coach Powell, and a great way for business owners to support each other, lift each other up, and get better at what they do every week. I don't go as often as I used to, and I hate that I miss it, but it is a great experience, and I highly encourage everyone to check us out on Tuesdays at noon.
I just posted in the chat a little information about the roundtable that I think people can take away and run with. So for those of you all who are watching us online, if you want to know a little bit more about this thing we call the roundtable, our basic design format is right there in the chat. All you got to do is take a look at it and link up to it, and you'll be able to see a lot about what we do. Looks like we're only broadcasting right now on YouTube, but we might be on LinkedIn as well. I don't know what's going on here. I think we might be on both. Yeah, we're on both. We're on LinkedIn and on YouTube. For some reason, Facebook kicked us off because we started late. So you'll be able to see the link there, definitely on YouTube. I don't know if it's showing up on Facebook or LinkedIn, but it's definitely showing up on YouTube. And you can find that link to our broadcast right there, and you can see definitely everything you need to know about the roundtable. I'm going to pull up the whole TrueVOICE profile so everybody can download that and see everything that they need to see and learn everything they need to learn about TrueVOICE. And we're going to take a couple breaks throughout the day so you can get some coffee and take some bathroom breaks and all that kind of good stuff. But we're going to get into TrueVOICE as soon as I can load up the system. In the meantime, let me tell you a little bit about this exciting conference we're going to get into today. And I'll set it up with just a couple key phrases that I think are very, very important when it comes to TrueVOICE. I came up with this quote, and this is something that it means a lot to me. I guess I can't come up with a quote. I can't come up with a quote for myself, but this is a couple of words I think will describe TrueVOICE. We cultivate love when we allow our most vulnerable and powerful selves to be deeply seen and known. And when we honor the spiritual connection that grows from that offering, we trust, respect, kindness, and affection. We have so much more of it. It's important for human beings in terms of connecting with one another. And everybody knows that, networking is my thing. I teach networking quite a bit, and I talk about it all the time. And everybody I work with, every client I engage with, I always let them understand that their true power is in connecting with others. No matter what your skill is, no matter what your talent is, learning how to connect with others in a loving, kind, trustful, passionate way will allow you to draw everything you need to draw out of each other and allow each other to see the greatness within each other, and the support that you can get from other people is amazing when we take away all the pretense. We take away then the stronger we get at this, the more we do it, the stronger we are at letting our own guards down, letting our own baggage down, letting all the expectations that we have, and we can actually see each other eye to eye, human to human, and it can cross every barrier there is, whether it's a racial barrier or an intellect barrier or any type of disability, anything that we have, we can get around as a human family when we see each other as that human family instead of these different people. So the more that we other people, the less we have an opportunity to connect. And this is what TrueVOICE is all about. It's about helping to remove and take down those barriers that keep us from truly connecting, truly trusting, truly being kind and wonderful with each other. So I'm looking forward to presenting it to you guys. Another famous quote, this is from one of my favorite authors, writers, and speakers. This is Brené Brown. Brené says, shame, blame, disrespect, and betrayal, and the withholding of affection damages the roots from which love grows. Love can only survive these injuries if they are acknowledged, healed, and are rare. Think about it. You need to be consistent, and you need to care for one another in a way that allows each other to feel safe. There's a psychological safety that comes from being with someone who's not judging you, someone who's values you and is truly interested in you, someone who doesn't find any way or any type of communication strategy that allows you to feel shame, that allows you to feel disrespected, that allows you to feel betrayed. And so when you can use the right tools and the right communication strategy, then you're going to find that it's so much easier to create an environment where people feel comfortable, they feel safe, they feel within their rights, kind of thing, and they can be the best they can be. They can bring forth the greatest innovation, they can bring forth the greatest strategies, and they will be supportive. And I can prove this to you. And this is one illustration I give all the time. But for those of you who have ever been, like maybe at a gas station or something, and maybe you've been pumping gas, and somebody has rushed in and disturbed your peace while you were sitting at the pump, right? And said, listen, I got some things going on. I got to get to where I didn't got to get to. I'm late. I don't know where I am. I'm lost. I got to get to a wedding. I got to get to a meeting. I got to get someplace. Can you help me? Do you know where I'm going? Do you know where I am? Can you point me in the right direction? Has that ever happened to you guys? I know it's happened to me. And I always think about it in one of two ways. If they ask me and I know exactly how to help them, I'm always super excited to help them. Now, the flip side is also true. If they ask me and I don't know how to help them, I feel miserable. I feel horrible. I feel like, I'm useless. Why am I even here? So there's a key there that I want you guys to understand that runs throughout the human spirit. Everybody wants to help. Everybody wants to be meaningful. Everybody wants to be significant at every moment of every day. That's who we are as human beings. We want to engage. We want to be significant. We really want to be there for one another. Because that's how we know that we as individuals matter. The problem is we don't necessarily know if it's safe to connect, if it's safe to communicate, if it's safe to let our guard down, if it makes sense to be vulnerable and allow ourselves to be a part of somebody else's life in the moment that they're in. Is it somehow going to come back and backfire on us? And everything has taught us that part of the risk of our lives is people that don't look like us, they don't talk like us, they don't think like us necessarily. And I'm going to suggest that's been some wrong teaching, right, in our lives, and we need to open ourselves up to more opportunities to share, more opportunities to connect, more opportunities to communicate with one another. I haven't even had a cup of water this morning. I'm probably going to be the first one to want to take a break because my mouth is now dry, and I think I found my link. I found it. There it is. Okay. And I'm going to post it in the chat for those of you all to can see. This is the link for the TrueVOICE program that you can find in YouTube. And then I'm also going to put it in the banner section in the private chat. So our fellow coaches, if they want to go along, ride along with me, they can. And it's in the private chat as well. Jennifer, Ron, if you want me to post something for anybody in the private chat, you want me to post your information, how they can get in contact with you, any information about the chamber or any information about Schoolie Mitchell, put it in the private chat. And if you want to hang in there with us, in fact, I'm going to put you backstage. I'm not going to put you on blast. If you want to hang in there with us, please do, and I'll bring you back on stage. If not, if you got to go, I understand. Or if you want to pop in and out, I understand that as well. I could take it from here with the crew. So I promise you guys, I'd be out of your hair by 8 o'clock, and it's looking like it's getting close to 8 o'clock. So they're backstage now. The rest of you all can't see them. It's just me. I can see them, and so they're off camera. And if you guys have anything you want to put in the chat, definitely, or throughout the day, you want me to remind people, how to get in contact with you and everything, I'll definitely do that. Fair enough? All righty. So you can put it in the private chat area, and then I'll drop it in. All right. So let's get this party started. This is TrueVOICE. If you're on YouTube, you could download TrueVOICE. Take a look at the document, and we're going to go through each and every part of the TrueVOICE process. And I want you to, if you could, scroll down with me to I should have renumbered these pages, to about page 4. And these are literally the True Voice discussion points and quotes and images that I want to share with you guys as we get into each of the topics. And if you look down, there's a big little, a couple of fellows walking around. They're holding something called vision in their hands. Vision is the start of True Voice. If you didn't know by now, True Voice is an acronym. It's an acronym that we use to help remember the 5 elements of True Voice. The 5 elements of True Voice really quickly, so that you guys can, keep, because you're going to hear them over and over again today, all day long, right? Until we get to about noon and we'll be out of here. The first part of True Voice is, to me, the most important part. It's vision. When you can ask people questions, when you can inquire with people in a way and have conversations and something in a way that pulls out their vision for who they are, it's just a magical conversation. When people can start to help you craft a notion of your future, of your potential, of your abilities and talents, and how they might all come together to create something that you want to have in your life, you want to see yourself getting to some destination, then that is an amazing conversation. Very few interviewers have the potential to do this well. Without practice, right? You have to practice, you have to rehearse it. And when you have that gift and you're able to pull vision out of people, whether you're in a group or you're in an individual setting or whatever you're in, people always feel great about you, right? It's very, very important that you have that ability. The second part of True Voice is critical is obstacles. We all face obstacles. We all face challenges in getting to wherever we want to get to in our lives, in our businesses, whatever role we play. None of that matters. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be obstacles, some that we see, some that we don't see. But it's our obstacle orientation, right? How we negotiate and deal with each and every obstacle that we come in front of that matters greatly about how we're going to do. And here you're going to have 3 different questions that we're going to go through today to help you start to think about obstacles in a different way, help you start to challenge what you think you know about the obstacles that you know about and how you're going to handle the obstacles that you don't know about. Instinct is the next favorite category in the True Voice process. When you begin to think about, open up, and share, your instincts with one another and helping people really talk about the things that they feel intuitively and about whatever they have to deal with when it comes to moving themselves forward. All of a sudden, you're finding an authenticity, right? You're finding a way for people to communicate on a level where, it's all about their feelings. It's all about their gut. It's all about, what naturally comes to them. And when that happens, there's no room for pretense or lies or deceit or anything, because it's just coming naturally from you. And when you can get people to talk from that gut level or get people to communicate with each other through that gut level, the trust comes really quickly, because when you know what a person is all about, what they're thinking and how they feel about what they're thinking. And that's what creates a high level of interest and a high level of trust. There's this connection and authenticity all over that. The next part of True Voice we're going to talk about is commitment. How you make commitments, what you committed to when it comes to your journey, your ability to move forward. What promises do you make? How do you help others make promises? All those things are going to be detailed information that you need to have. You need to be really good at, again, opening up that communication. Because when people know exactly what you're committed to, when they know exactly what they're committed to, and they can share that information, you can create a better win-win relationship. At least what you may be able to build a relationship around. Relationships are always built around commitment, but we'll get more into that a little bit later. The next part of True Voice I really love, and the last part of the True Voice I really love is dealing with the things that we all have to deal with, but we don't necessarily have control over it. And that's the environment. When you're communicating with somebody and you're helping them recognize that there are things that are outside of their control, but they still need to have some system, some strategy, some way of dealing with those things. call them emergency situations or whatever situations that might happen environmentally, right? There's social environments, there's economic environments, there's your natural environments, there's your emotional, mental, kind of environments that we find ourselves into quite a bit. When we know how to handle those things and handle those things well, it says a lot about our character, and it says a lot about who we are and where we're going and what our potentials are, because the environmental issues will be there. Again, there's not something that we can necessarily control, but we do have to face. So, do we have any questions at all about, or any type of? I know a lot of you might be wanting to chime in with some thoughts about what's going on with True Voice. So far, I know you might be really excited to get this thing going and keep it moving. Is there any thoughts from anyone in our listening audience about what we're gonna get into today and what it might mean for you and how it might solidify anything you're thinking or help you understand a little bit more about anything? So does anybody have any ideas about that? Anybody want to share anything? Feel free to post it in the chat as we move along throughout the day. I'll do what I can to get us started. Um, do me a favor as we take a quick break. Take a look at True Voice. Take a look at the document that's in front of you. And what I'm going to do while you're doing that is I'm going to put a little music on, and we're going to come back, and I'm going to say about 5 minutes that I'll get a chance to at least get a cup of coffee and some water. And it's now 8:04. Let's give it a 5 minute break. Let's be back at 8:09 exactly. Well, I thought I was going to put some music on, but that's not seeming to work. Hmm. Well, maybe I could put at least an image up of some type that you guys might want to look at while that's going. Mm-hmm. There we go. Okay, we are back. So hopefully you all had a chance to look over the True Voice profile that's posted in the chat, so you can get there anytime you want to. It's right there for you. I hope you enjoyed your break. I know I enjoyed mine. I got a cup of coffee and I'm ready to go. Okay, so what we're talking about earlier is we gave you a brief overview of the 5 elements of true voice. And I hope you'll understand that these are the key elements that people need to have dialogue and conversation about in order to truly build trust. You can have friends that you've had for your entire life that you don't know as much about as you would if you took them through the true voice process that we're going to teach you today. There are connections that you have that maybe you can deepen, and in doing so, create something that can then be leveraged. And ultimately, that was networking is all about. Networking is about creating relationships that can be leveraged. And I don't want to promote any type of one-sided leverage. I want you to understand that it's important that no one in a relationship feels abused or taken advantage of or somehow ridiculed or anything like that. And so it's important that when you enter a professional relationship, that everybody in the relationship get something out of it that is valuable for them that they couldn't have gotten without the relationship. And so this takes a bit of really, really high quality communication to get to. But I find, and in my professional life, and I've worked with thousands of professionals over the years, I find that it's so much easier when that goal is to strengthen and build that connection. Now, I'm not suggesting that you get into a true voice conversation with perfect strangers. I am suggesting, though, if you selected someone that you think somebody you should get closer to, and it can be beneficial for you, you can see a way to benefit them, or they might see a way to benefit you, or you can see a way they can benefit you. You should be thinking about how to get into these deeper, more meaningful conversations with them. And the 5 elements of the true voice process are definitely ideas and concepts that you need to bring out and flesh out and deal with in the earliest parts of your, I'm going to say, true voice relationship, right? You may have a relationship right now with a former mentor or professor or teacher or friend or business associate or whatever that you want to strengthen. I will promise you, if you take them through the true voice process with their permission, right, you will find ways to strengthen that relationship. You will find new connections. You will find deeper, more meaningful ways to show that one another can be very significant in your lives. And you just have to be open to it. That's the thing. If you're not talking to people who you already respect or at least want to, this is not going to work. This is going to cause a lot of drama and a lot of trauma. So I'm going to warn you right off the bat. You don't want to get into these conversations with people who you don't feel that you respect, or you don't feel like you can respect, or you don't feel like has the ability to respect you. Because you might open up a can of worms. The reason why you're not vulnerable around those people is because you don't trust them, and there's no way for you. They're not giving you any indication that they can be trusted. And True Voice might help you with that, but I don't think when people are resolved that there's nothing that you're going to be able to do or say or be that's going to make them, enjoy spending time with you or being in your presence. There's not much you can do when it comes to opening up that particular can of worms. So I would suggest that you be careful. You don't try to get into a true voice relationship with everybody, but you be very selective about who you want to get into a true voice relationship with. Having said that, it is also important that you don't limit yourself to people who look and think and are in the same industry as you necessarily. You want to get into these relationships because it's going to help you find out and explore parts of the universe that you are not intimately familiar with yourself. And so people who may not look like you, may not come from the same areas that you come from, may not belong to the same churches or come from, the same backgrounds or even have the same, heritage, right? These are people that you want to but they may have something that is super impressive, in terms of um, their talent, their abilities, levels of success, whatever it is that you think that can be leveraged. That's a person that's going to help you identify that as a person that you might want to go to a true voice relationship with. You might want to ask them to be your mentor. You might want to ask them to be on your advisory council. You might want to figure out ways to support each other in many different ways. And we'll go through a little bit of that today as we go through the topics. I asked you guys if you had any questions about anything so far, and you're looking pretty good. I'm not seeing any questions, so we're going to keep the party going. Let's talk first and foremost about the beginning. All right. Why do we put vision in the front of this true voice process? Well, there's a couple reasons. Right. One of the obvious reason is voice. Begins with V, right? But it's more important than that. Your voice, your vision, your energy, everything that you have about you, the more you can project it out of you and onto the universe and out into the universe, the more it has a likelihood of not just becoming something in your head, but becoming something that everybody else around you understands is a part of your destiny, and it's a part of your purpose. It's a part of your passion, and the more you can project that vision, the more you'll also identify two things. You're going to identify some haters out there who are going to be like, oh, that's crazy. You shouldn't be thinking that way, blah, blah, blah. But you're also going to identify some people who can also understand where your vision projection is and where it's going. There are many things that have been written over the years about vision that I'm going to expose you to here. But I want you to understand, if you truly want to understand the character of a person, and you really want to get into what their highest dreams and aspirations are, you need to be good at communicating to them and talking to them about their vision. Where do they see themselves going? Vision is exactly what I say it is. It's a destination, right? It's an understanding in the here and now of where you might be going in the future. And the thing about that vision is it's either got more clarity or less clarity based on your ability to identify and connect and communicate with other people who can then verify and validate your vision. If you're all alone in your vision and it's just a dream for you, and there is no connection to anything or anybody else where it might matter to someone else, then I'm going to tell you it's not a good enough vision, all right? Because you're not going to be able to tap in to what I call the universal energy, right? It's other people who would love to help you get you the directions you need to get so you can get on about the business of getting onto your destiny. People actually want to help you do that, but you have to have what it takes to articulate and to share it in a way that invites them in to your vision. Let's talk about some of the things that some of the great writers have said about vision, and maybe we'll share and challenge back and forth where this is coming from. 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones you did. So throw off the bow lines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds on your sails, explore, dream, and discover. This is a quote from Jackson Brown Jr. In a book he wrote called P.S. I Love You. Think about that. What is he saying? What is Mr. Brown saying in this quote? He is saying that we really don't have time to not work on our vision and our dreams. We really don't have time to sit around and wait for the conditions to always be right. In fact, the conditions will rarely be right because there is an understanding of all vision, especially before you get started. It's going to be a little fuzzy. It's impossible for you to know exactly what's going to happen around every turn. It's impossible for you to understand fully what it's going to be like to even arrive at a situation, an expectation, or something that you've never gotten to before. And we're not talking about goals here. We're talking about vision. Vision might encompass hundreds of goals that you need to catch to get to that final destination. But it's important that you understand that vision is, again, doesn't become super clear until you're almost right on top of it, which is why a lot of people don't put a lot of credibility in vision and vision planning. But I'm not suggesting that you use vision as a strategy to plan anything. I'm suggesting that you use vision as a strategy to communicate emotions and feelings about what you're planning, because it helps people to connect. It helps people to do that, especially if you can tell a story. It's an amazing emotional and social connectivity type of exercise, that being able to do vision casting and being able to tell people, I mean, speak it out of your, don't just put it on the board somewhere where you can see it. Figure out how you can articulate it. Figure out how you can write it down. Figure out how you can do it in a way that when the right people hear your vision, they get excited. They jump on board. They're all a part of it. They want to get in, right? It's very, very important that you do that. J.K. Rowling said, it does not do well to dwell on dreams and forget to live. And I take that to mean, and personally for me, is like your vision is out there at some point in the future. It's a destiny that you're not arrived at just yet. And for those of us who understand this, you really never ever really get there. You just get better and better at doing what you get to do. But that vision is the thing that keeps you focused and keeps you moving in the right direction, right? So, you know, but it doesn't dwell. I mean, it doesn't do well for you to sit around and be in future mode all the time, always thinking about the future and ignoring the here and now. What you want to try to do to the best of your ability is to connect the future to the here and now. There's a person that you want to be in the future. There are things you want to have in the future. There are things that you want to enjoy, embrace. There are benefits that you want to have in the future. And you can start to experience some of those benefits right now. Maybe not all of them, or maybe not in the intensity that you're going to experience them later on, but you can start to experience some of them right now. And in the choices that you make in your day-to-day decisions. If you're going to have in your mind, you know, just the most fabulous life that there is in the future, why not now? Why not have the most fabulous life now? What's fabulous about your life right now that you can acknowledge? And through mindfulness, begin to pay attention and begin to understand that there are some things that you might enjoy and engage in and participate in right now. Give yourself some little rewards throughout the day. You know, I'm going to do something that I really truly love. Like for me, it's this right here. I love a good cup of coffee. Not only does it get my energy flowing, wakes me up in the morning, and so on and so forth. I love it. I've been doing it so much that I actually love it. So I give myself a little gift, right? Throughout the day, here and there. You know, I'll plan to do something, and as I knock it off, so I'll plan myself a coffee break, and I'll just take about a good just 10 minutes to enjoy a nice cup of coffee. I won't do anything else but that 10 minutes. But that time is time for me to, you know, plug in. I might go on my balcony, my porch, and go check it out, and you know, sit out there and have my cup of coffee and see what's going on outside in nature, and even in the rain. Sometimes I'll do it, you know, just to take a emotional break and get away from the computer screen, get away from the family, get away from everything I'm doing, and maybe take a walk around the corner, you know, whatever it is, and I'm gonna enjoy my coffee and I'm gonna commune with nature, right? But I find that every time I do that, every time I take that break, every time I enjoy that thing that's fabulous in my life, I get to take myself to a place where I want to stay. You know, I want to stay in enjoying my life. I want to stay in enjoying the connections I have. I want to always, you know, appreciate the things and the people around me. You know, and I can't do it right now because I'm scrambling, right? I'm hustling to do the things that I need to get done so that I can keep 3 hots in the cot going, so I can keep the lights on or the business flowing or whatever it is I'm trying to do that requires my energy. You know, I get to take a little break from it and experience a little bit about the future I'm going to have when I don't have the kind of worries and concerns that I have right now. But I could do that right now. I don't have to wait. I could take those moments for myself to stretch, to breathe, to drink some water, engage with a conversation with a friend, all kinds of things you can do to create more of the vision that you want to have in your future today. You just have to be open to it. You have to be creative about it, and you have to really, really think through it. Um, Edgar Allan Poe says that all we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. Now, there's something to that. Poe was a skepticist, as you might imagine, and he really thought of this statement. Reminds me of how people sometimes think that when you talk about vision, it's woo woo stuff, right? It's really not something that you should focus on or create any energy around, because it's not strategic necessarily, and it's not goal focused necessarily, and it's not necessarily going to get you where you want to go. And to extent, a lot of that's true. But what is true is vision is probably one of the most powerful things that you could do to engage with and work with and invite others into something where they can get a glimpse of greatness. They can get a glimpse of the magic that the universe has to bring to them. But they need to be able to dream. They need to be able to focus on something other than the here and now. And that allows us to hope. It allows us to build faith. It allows us to do all the things we need to do as human beings to truly connect to each other on a higher plane, in a higher way. I hope you understand where I'm coming from when it comes to that, because I'm a big believer that there's more to our lives than we even have the capacity to express and experience. But together, when we find ways to build teams, when we find ways to build quality relationships, we get closer and closer and closer to perfection, so to speak. We get closer and closer to that connection, to not with just as a connection with each other, but a connection with the universe, a connection with the way the world and life works, and where there's principles there that we all should be paying attention to, so that we can get to what we need to get to in life. So it's critically important that you do dream, even though you might have a dream within a dream. That's not what Poe is trying to say. Don't dream. He is saying that dreams are magical, dreams are special, dreams are they're truly out there. They don't get anything done in today's time, in here and now. They don't. So I'm not going to be the one to tell you that I want you to spend all day dreaming. But I do want you to be able to tap into that energy, and plug into that energy, articulate that energy, share that energy when appropriate with people who might be motivated, enthused, excited, and influenced by that dream. And I want to share this. This is a great time for me to talk about this. If something's on your heart that you have to do, that you have to become, that you have to express, that you have to share, and you don't share it, I know you're thinking that, well, I don't want to impose on people. I don't want to pounce on people with my ideas. I don't want to make people feel like they need to run away from me. And of course, nobody wants that, right? I told you earlier, we don't want to blame. We don't want to shame. We don't want to, distress people. We don't want to do anything that's going to make someone else feel bad about their lives and themselves or whatever it is. We don't want to do that. I get that. But there's a problem in that, because if you don't share it with the people who actually you should share it with, then they don't get to feel like they're doing anything or being anything or becoming anything that's special right then in this moment. Right. So I want you to think about that. How many people could you invite into your vision? How many people could be invited into you? How many visions do you think you should be invited into that are out there already? But because everybody's afraid to share for whatever reason, then you don't get a chance to play, right? I look at every opportunity of a person that passes me by as a missed opportunity, right? There's an opportunity where I don't get to understand them. They don't get to understand me. We don't even get to find out if there's something in each other or about each other that we could use, that we could grow from, that we could create together, that could make magic happen for both of us. I don't know their strengths. They don't know mine. I don't know what they need or they may have some weaknesses that I may have some strengths that will fulfill a need that they have in order to move themselves forward. Who knows? Because we're not having the conversation. We're not talking about the things that inspire us to help each other, and that's where vision falls down. That's where we when it's not done well, then we allow those opportunities to keep passing us by over and over and over and over and over again. But here's what I believe about the universe: it's never too late. Every person on this planet is a gift. Every person on this planet has a purpose, has a reason to exist, in my point of view. And if we are good at the seeking, the searching, and the communicating and the finding of those people, then it's going to be easier for us to build the connections we need to build, to create the teams we need to create, to get closer and closer to our perfection, right? So think about that. Anything that's keeping people from sharing and communicating their vision is, in my point of view, stopping that process from happening. I could prove it because over the years, I've bumped into many, many, many people that don't look like me, don't come from the same background I come from, but we have found ways to fall in love with each other, to truly support each other and to help each other. In fact, my friend Nancy, who's on the conference today, volunteered to do some things for me because she recognizes there's a need. She has a gift and a talent, and she knows I need it. And she volunteered to help me with some images and some graphics and things like that for even this session. And I promised her I would take advantage of that, but I never got around to it, never had time. Not that I don't appreciate what Nancy has to share and to give, I really do. It's just I got so many things going on, I could not take advantage of the gift that she was willing to give. And it's not her fault, it's my fault, because of my lack of communication and this just the inability to put one more thing on my plate. So I hope you understand that, Nancy. But it's not for me not wanting to work with you or me not wanting to really help expose your talent and your gifts to the rest of the world, because I definitely want to do that anytime I get a chance to do that. And in fact, Nancy just chimed in with some things that I think I want to share with you guys. She has a reminder to allow oneself to dream and envision, especially is important for those of us who tend towards being pragmatic and exclusion of dreaming. You are still right. You are so right. It's so important that we don't give up no matter what, and no matter what our personal intentions or bent is. And there are other things that do in that too. Some of us will call ourselves being frank, or necessarily being realistic, that don't spend any time with vision, don't value the time that's spent with vision with ourselves. I've probably never really been brought into a vision that makes sense for them, and so it's very difficult for them to grab that information. I do understand that, because life kicks us all in the rear parts sometimes, and we forget that it's more than just our thoughts and our dreams and who we think we are and what we want to do. Sometimes it's literally about where we can make a contribution to others and how that contribution can live. And I think that we do ourselves a disservice when we don't learn to not just value others, but value ourselves and the gifts that we have and the mission that we may have to share those gifts with others. Because it's very, very important that we get a chance to do it, because that's how we derive meaning and value out of our lives. But when we find ourselves feeling useless, it's usually because we haven't found anybody to say to us, you know what, I love that, I want that, I need that. Because you're doing it, it makes it such a special opportunity for me. So let me just say, I appreciate you, right? That's one of the reasons why I wrote the rap approach, was to make sure people understood that, their gifts can be valued and should be valued. And there's a way for that to work, to really make that happen. But that's a whole different conference, right? We can't talk about that right now. The last quote I want to share with you before we start getting into the vision questions is from Langston Hughes. Langston says, "Hold fast to dreams. For if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly." Now, I don't know any greater words that express the purpose and the power of vision than those. Think about it. If you don't dream, if you don't let your light shine, so to speak, and let people know and see and engage with you, your entire life is like a broken winged bird that cannot fly. I don't know about you, but I want my life to be magical. I want to be making contributions into the world that make a difference, that allow people to feel better about themselves, to do more, to accomplish more, to create more. As a coach, that's not just my job; it's my avocation and it's my passion. I love helping people think better about themselves and how they're going to enter into this thing we call the world and contribute in ways that are going to make it better for others. And then by doing so, lift the entire structure of the world to a higher place. Maybe a place where there's not any violence. Maybe there's a place where there's not any poverty. Maybe there's a place where there's not the haves and the have-nots, and there's not this division that we are currently experiencing. But I think if we're good at and we all figure out how to do this better, how to share our vision with the people that we should share it with, and to make those connections and to draw upon each other's strengths to help us validate our own strengths, I think that we can do amazing things as a human family. And when we can't, it's because we don't have the skills, we don't have the talents, which we're going to talk about. This is what True Voice is all about. So I've given you some ideas about vision, but there's so much more that I don't have the time to go into each and every different aspect of vision. And the best way that I could think through is to sort of take ourselves through the whole True Voice process. And we're going to start with vision. And we're going to take a break. And I realized that I can't play music during the break that's copyrighted music, or they'll kick me off of YouTube. And I don't want that to happen. so I decided, you know what, I'm not going to play the music that I would be normally listening to in the background. I should have found some music that wasn't copyrighted, but I didn't think about that before we created the conference today. So you're going to hear some silence on the end, and I'm going to be here. You might see me working for the next few minutes, but I want you to do some things in the next few minutes. I want you to go through the first 4 questions of the vision process. And I'm going to read them all to you. I'm going to explain them all to you, and then I'm going to let you go for about 10, maybe 20 minutes to work on them. And I want you to, first of all, start with some blank pieces of paper. So if you need to get some paper off your printer or in a notebook or something like that, and something to write with, because I want you to write these down by hand if you can. If you need to type them out, that's okay too. But it would be better if you would write it out by hand. There's something to that that's really, really important that I hope you get to. When you can put your ideas on paper and you can do it, you can use multiple senses in doing so. So when you're writing, it's a tactile thing. You can feel the ink flow onto the paper, out of the pen, and you could see and touch your ideas, right? You can become more connected to those ideas and then make those ideas really, really important and really, really real. And so it's important that you go through the exercise. It's not the same when you text something in, if you're using typing or you're doing something, it's not the same. But let's go through the first question. Here's the first question. If you had unlimited resources, I mean, access to money and time as much as you need it for whatever you need it, right? What would you be doing in your life if you had all the resources in the world, all the money, all the time, all the space, all the connections, everything you needed was at your fingertips? And by the way, in this particular question, you are omnipotent, meaning you will never die. You'll never run out of time or resources or anything, right? Basically, you're God, right? What would you be doing differently in your life if you had all that power, all that potential, and none of the hangups, none of the human trappings, and none of the failings that we tend to have? What would you do? Take a few minutes and jot down as many ideas as you can. And I want you, at least 10, 10 things that you would be, do, or have that you could not in the current reality that you're experiencing, right? It's impossible for you to accomplish any of this. But I want you to write down 5, 10, and just big, hairy things that are impossible to accomplish, but you know that you would feel great about yourself and about your life if you can accomplish it. Go for it. Let's spend 5 or 10 minutes working on that. And by the way, if you guys have any questions as you're doing the exercise, it's 8:43 now, so let's give it 5 minutes. We should be back in about 8:48. If you have any questions about this exercise, feel free to pop them in the chat. You have anything to add to the conversation, feel free to pop that in the chat as well. But do complete the exercise because we got a lot to do today, and I want to make sure that everybody's on board with us. Um, this is a workshop. This is not just me yammering away at you. And I expect some engagement out of you. And I might even ask you to post some of the things that you come up with. I obviously don't want you to share anything that you don't feel comfortable sharing. But understand that, again, like I said, vision, right? The more you put it out there, the more people can have what they need to know you, to understand you, to get involved and engage with you. Okay, we got 2 more minutes. Hope you guys are coming up with some good stuff. So I was able during that last exercise to post the True Voice process also on LinkedIn. I realized that if I post it here using my StreamYard, it doesn't necessarily post on LinkedIn. So I have to actually go on to LinkedIn and post that information. So I have that channel open. Therefore, people can get that same document and use it. Those of you who are watching on LinkedIn can get it there as well as on YouTube. Okay, so we're talking about vision, right? Um, and understanding that if you can figure out ways to start to dream again, I know a lot of times that is difficult for people um, because they really just it's hard for them to imagine the impossible, and unless they kind of force themselves to do so. And so this first question in the vision quest process or the true voice process is truly to help you start to understand that there are many things out there in the universe. They might be impossible, but there's still things that you should consider and think about. Because if you're like me, when you find out that even if you could on the list came up with 3 things that you would do, maybe it's um, make sure that there's no more hunger or starvation, or maybe make sure that there's no more water shortages in the world anywhere, or maybe it's something that you'd make sure that poverty was eradicated, kind of thing. These are the types of big ideas that one individual cannot handle. But when you think of yourself as as all powerful, and having all the time and all the money in the world, then you come up with ideas that are really, really significant to the world and probably to yourself. So I want you to bench or sort of bookmark those 5 or 10 ideas that you came up with. Hopefully, you came up with that many, and I want you to put that piece of paper to the side because I don't know if anybody would like to share at least one of the things on their list they came up with what they could do. I know for me, um, when the many times I've done this, I keep coming back to ending hatred as something that I really, really want to do. And every time I've done this exercise, I keep coming back with just putting down any type of violence, anything that would make people not see each other and love each other. Um, that keeps coming up and bubbling up in my world over and over and over again. And I have to say now that I know and I understand this is the part of my character. This is who I am. This is what I'm not as interested in, starvation issues. I'm not as interested in issues of human trafficking. Not that those are all very, very important things. But I'm more interested in the causational aspects of what creates division amongst human beings and how what we can do to start to heal those visions. And I'd like to just end those divisions. I'd like to end borders, governments, anything that divides people and keeps us or pits us against each other. I want it over. I'd like to see that done. Now, it probably won't happen, but I'd like to see that. I'd like to see people not have any enemies, or not have any anything that they have to concern themselves that might end their lives. I'm not interested in those things, so I want to see those things eradicated. You know, that's kind of who I am. But as I reflect on that, it says a lot about my character and why I do the things I do and what I'm all about. And my ability to articulate that to you might allow you or anybody else, by the way, to trust me more. That's why it's important. So again, being able to think those things through and articulate them is really what we're getting to. But I want you to bookmark question number one, put that piece of paper aside, get another piece of paper out. We're going to go to question number two. Now, if you notice in the TrueVOICE profile I gave to you guys, there's room and space for you to write on that piece of paper. But I don't want you to waste it, today. I want you to, use that, save it to your hard drive, maybe print it out later on and go through it again with exercises by yourself, and then have it as a tool that you can print out and use as you talk to others. Right? It's a very important conversation. Number two, if you were to go see the doctor and you went there for your annual checkup, and the doctor told you, okay, I got good news for you and I got bad news for you. The good news is you're going to be healthy for the next 5 to 10 years. You're going to be super healthy. You're going to do all the things that you're doing right now. You're not going to have any pain. You're not going to have any anguish. You're not going to have any problems. But somewhere, and the bad news is somewhere in that 5 or 10 year span, somewhere in that span, you're just going to drop dead. You're not going to linger. It's not going to come on slowly. It's just going to boom. You're no longer going to be here. Somewhere, starting at the 5 year mark, you're going to have to be concerned about, that's it. This is my last moment. This is my last day. This is the last, I'm done, right? The question is, and I want you to think about this, and this is not like the first question where you had unlimited time and unlimited potential and unlimited power and ability and more and everything you needed, resources. This is a different question. Now that you know that you're going to be gone somewhere between the next 5 or 10 years, what would you do differently in your life? Just come up with a list of things that you would do differently. People that you would relate to differently. Organizations that you would be more engaged with or run away from. What would you do differently? Knowing if you got 5, maybe 10 years left. Go ahead and write that down. Let's spend another 5 minutes on that. It's 8:55. 2 minutes. Hope you guys are doing well. Again, if you have any questions or comments as you're completing the exercise, please feel free to share anything you want. My girl Erica is out there. Good to see you, Erica. Thanks for jumping in this morning. Today we're talking about True Voice, and we're actually going through the exercises that are in the links in the chat. So if you could go through the chat, you can find the links and download that on your own. We're on a exercise right now. We're going through the questions. We're at question number 1. So feel free to jump right in, whatever you want to jump right in. Hopefully you have a good time today. We're going to have a good time working with you guys. Erica, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're coming from, or where you found out about this, that would be really helpful. I'll make sure that, and definitely engage in the chat. A lot of our friends are out there already. Good to know you. Thanks for jumping on board. And we're at the 9 o'clock mark, and we are finished the second question in the True Voice process. The next question we want to get to in dealing with your vision. And again, take that same piece of paper. Now, what you understand about question number 2, sort of the recap, when you can change the parameters of your vision and begin to understand, that, we have to bring that down into some limits that are possible. What tends to happen when people start to answer question number 2 is they tend to start to think about what's really important to them and who is really important to them right now, that they don't want to spend any more time not dealing with or not putting some serious energy towards. And all of a sudden, when you think you only got 5 or 10 years left, your focus becomes real clear about what you want to try to get done in that 5 to 10 years. A lot more clearer than maybe we have asked in question number 1. But the thing is, I want you to begin to still articulate, okay, bigger vision, number 1, what would I do if all things were possible? Okay, number 2, I only got 5 or 10 years left. What would I do if my life was the best it could possibly be? I could make it happen in 5, 10 years. What would I do? And now you're coming up with those restrictions, right? You're starting to say that your vision is starting to have some little more clarity, and you'll see what we're going to when it's all said and done. But I want you to do that now. Take that second piece of paper, put that aside. You did number 1, you did number 2. Now get another third piece of paper, number 3. This is probably the most exciting question that I ever get to talk to another individual about, because it drives home the meaning for them really quickly of their life in the moment. And I want you to imagine having a conversation with somebody and you ask them this question and then you attend to their answers. If you had just 24 hours to live, what would you regret that you haven't yet done in your life? All you got is 24 hours. 24 hours of regret. And you're going to die. What do you regret that you haven't done yet? Now, I don't know about you guys, but I hit that moment when I was about 30, when I reviewed my life for the first time. And I started to go, well, what have I done that I'm proud of? What have I done that I think is significant enough to warrant some type of contribution to our society and our world? And that was that moment. I was thinking my 30th birthday where I started to really think that through. And I started to realize there's some things that I wish I had done that I didn't do because I was sort of on autopilot all the time. I was just doing whatever I was doing to do whatever I needed to do for me. And it didn't feel like I was making a contribution to anybody outside of me. But it was when I was 30 And I wasn't quite at a midlife crisis point, but that was my point where I was like, I should be so much further along than I am right now. And I wanted to figure out a way to not have the next 30 years be more of the same. And that's when I started to realize I need to make connections with other people who know stuff, who have resources, who can do things or have done things that I haven't even been exposed to, maybe won't be exposed to, unless I connect with those people. And then through their connection, I can get exposure to those resources and those ideas and those concepts. And that's when it dawned on me how important it is, this connection piece, right? So I want to take a minute and ask the question for yourself. If you had 24 hours to live right now, what do you regret that you haven't done yet? Now, I'm not going to ask you to share with anybody. Just write it down on another piece of paper. Just come up with some bullet points. Just let the ideas flow. Don't do anything to stand in the way. Let's give this one another 5 minutes, and we'll come back at it at 9:10. And again, if you have any questions, any comments, anything you want to share, feel free to put it in the chat. This is a time in this space where we want to engage. If you're an entrepreneur, business leader, there's something that you want somebody to know about you, just put it in the chat. We're not trying to limit anybody or make anybody feel like they're disengaged or not connected, or we're not interested, because we are interested in each and every one of you. You're taking your time to work these exercises with us this morning, and I want to take the time to make sure I acknowledge you and make sure and let you know that we respect and appreciate you, not just for the gift of your time today, but for the gift of you, who you are. It's critically important that I think we do that for one another more than we ever do in our society. It wouldn't be a Marvin show, it wouldn't be a Coach Powell show if we didn't take the time to acknowledge each other. So if you have some information you want to put in the chat about yourself, or people as you're completing the exercises, definitely do that, and I'll definitely make sure that we'll give you some time in the sun, give you a shout out, do whatever we need to do here. Erica says that I don't know if this is where she's from, or VAS Tech, if that's her organization, a job or company or whatever that is. Erica, if you could give us a little bit more information, that'd be really great for us to help connect you with others. That'd be really helpful. If not, if you don't feel like it, that's cool too. I just want to make sure that, again, we don't rob anybody of an opportunity to make some valuable connections if possible. We got 4 more minutes on our exercise, and let's keep the party going. Again, the question is, if you had 24 hours to go, what would you do with it? What do you regret that you didn't do, I should say, with it? You guys are watching on YouTube or you're watching on LinkedIn. Now we're getting sort of in the flow of the moment today. You're not going to be able to pick up the documents that we post on YouTube, so I will purposely go out and repost everything we want to share with you guys on LinkedIn. If you cannot find it, do me a favor and post some information in the chat yourself. If you can't find the TrueVOICE profile that's out there for some reason, and I will repost it. But there shouldn't be a problem with anybody finding anything. We want to create an environment of inclusion, and so anybody who needs anything, it's time to say, okay, hey, I need to see this, or I need to do this, or I want to know more about that. Fire it away, put it in the chat, and we'll deal with it. But if you keep it to yourself and you don't share these ideas or anything that's going on, then you miss the opportunity to not just get a higher level of understanding for yourself, but you miss an opportunity for someone else to bless you with that thought process or some kind of connection to that idea that could make that idea sing. And so, a lot of people on the call, a lot of people participating, and let's not rob them of an opportunity to be a gift to you by keeping things close to your chest and There's no reason to be afraid. There's nobody that's going to bite you. No saber-toothed tiger is going to come out and get you. So this is the place where we can share ideas freely and enjoy one another. Yes, it is being recorded. I do understand that. So there are things that, by the way, my information is scrolling down on the screen. If you want to text me or something off to the side that you want to share, there's my text messages right there. If you ever want to connect with me on anything in social media, I use the handle hashtag 9StepGuru because that's sort of my original claim to fame as a coach. I created the 9 Step process to masterful networking, which is another workshop I do, another process I do. And it's an amazing opportunity to connect and draw people out and really find ways to build, again, quality professional relationships. Alrighty, it is about that time, a few seconds left. Now, what I'm hoping is you guys see where I'm going with this. As as we round out the time, you now have 3 sheets of paper, right, with a whole bunch of ideas on it about potential ideas. Now, the whole goal here is not for you to try to take all these 3 ideas and these 3 different questions and make a vision statement. That is not what I'm trying to get you to do. Although you could use it as a tool to do that. I want you to think about it, and I want you to look at it as an idea or reflection of who you are and where you might want to go. Right? What is question number 1 say about you? I know for me, question number 1 said about me that I truly care about the things that connect people. I want to make sure that people feel connected. I want to make sure people feel open to one another and they share with one another. And I don't want people to be arguing. I don't want people to be combative. I don't want people to be even competitive. I want to engineer or try to engineer in my lifetime a collaborative world where we all see the gift in each other and we all are able to tap into those gifts and work collectively towards a higher calling for our lives and our purposes. That's what I want. That's what I want to see. That's what I'm interested in working on and working towards. Right. That I learned from just answering question number 1 for myself. For question number 2, I learned about the things that are here and now that I truly, truly care about, right? I care about making sure that the people around me that engage with me are not afraid. I think courage is a huge value that I know courage is a huge value that I have. It's my number 1 value of all the values that I list out. And when you start thinking about, things that you care personally about, I care about being bold, being courageous, being able to step out there, do the thing that sort of makes you uncomfortable, because that on the other side of that, I know on the other side of that is where you become the best that you're going to become. That's where you become greater. And so my job in my life is about encouraging people to take that next uncomfortable step, in whatever direction that's going to lead you for your business, so that you're not sitting around worrying about, oh my God, what if we could have, should have, did have. No, you don't have time for that. You have to move forward. And sometimes you just have to be empowered to move forward. You probably already know what you need to know. You probably have known all you can know about it, but you're in analysis paralysis. How do you move forward? So question number 2 kind of fleshed that kind of thought process out for me, that allow me now to articulate it to people like you. Question number 3 allowed me, when I started to really think about it, ponder it for myself with other people, begin to think about truly where I might have some failings, and that I might be able to talk to other people about those things in a very vulnerable, very authentic way, but also invite them in to help me figure out how we can fix it. And maybe they have some talent, some people, some connections that I could use, so I don't get stuck like I was at 30, feeling like I was all alone and I didn't have a drive to move forward. I didn't know where I was going to go with this thing, or I didn't know if my life had any meaning or any purpose. And it wasn't until then I started to really think about, I really need other people to help me sort of engineer and craft that. So I'm hoping you're having the same kinds of insights as you go through those questions. But I will tell you, you got to kind of be open to having those insights in order for that to happen. And a lot of times people aren't. So, and maybe today's not the right day. Maybe this moment's not the right moment for you. That's okay. It'll come. But you got to keep trying. You got to keep going for it. That's why I posted this document as something that you could download to your own hard drive. You can print off for yourself. You can always come back to it. You can always work on it for yourself. You can always enter in new arrangements and engagements with people to work through those things. Now, here's number 4. Brand new piece of paper. If you look back on the 3 sheets that you had before, the 3 concepts that you had before, you're going to see quite a few things that are important to you, things that are super valuable to you. And I'm going to make you, I'm going to force you for a moment to just rank them, right? To just really, really come and pull out for yourself what are the 3 key, most important ideas that can drive your vision, the thing that quicken your spirit, the things that really, really get in and help you not just know who you are, but know what you want to say to the universe. 3 key ideas. This is the tough one because you just wrote down a lot of things. All of it's important to you, right? But now I just want you to put out 3 key ideas. Now, for those of you who know me, you know that I'm big on separating principle from value. Principles from values, I should say. Principles, in my point of view, are the universal concepts, the universal ideas, the universal regulatory authority, the rules of the universe. And they always are the rules. They always have been the rules. They always will be the rules. These are the rules. Rules like, for just to make it a quick example, the law of gravity. The only time you break the law of gravity is when you leave the Earth's atmosphere, right? But as long as you're on the Earth's atmosphere, the law of gravity works, right? It always has, it always will, as long as, there's magnetic pull and everything that drives the law of gravity to work on the planet. So it's universal, right? All we can do is work with it. We can't break it. We can't end it. We can't do anything else. It's a principle. But now value is different. A value that you might attach to the law of gravity is the fear of heights. You afraid of heights? You're afraid of heights. It's value, and it's a value that's attached to a principle. So it's going to work. That dog hunt, so to speak, right? But now you can try to attach values to principle, and it doesn't work. If you say to yourself, I want to fly without the aid of an airplane, but I'm going to jump off a cliff anyway, without any type of thing that's going to save my life, guess what's going to happen? You may value flying. That's great. But you're going to bump into the principle, which is the law of gravity. And the law of gravity, working along with your values, is going to you're going to end up hurt or dead. So values is something you care a lot about. Doesn't necessarily have to be aligned with the principle. But when your values are not aligned with the principle, the consequences are the same. Always failure is the consequence of not aligning their values to principle. So, very, very important that when you think about these 3 ideas and you're able to articulate, these are the things that are most important to you. How do you then extend that to principle and aligning those ideas with what's true about the universe and how it works, how people work? Now, I can't get into a lesson here because it's outside of the scope about social intelligence, emotional intelligence, and how we all function when it comes to this. But when you get this right, you end up being able to articulate your voice. You'll be able to, your vision will be able to articulate it in such a way that when the right people hear it, this is what you're all about, this is what you're doing, this is where you're going, right? People ask you, who are you? You don't come up with some craziness about what you do and what your title is and what your role is. You can articulate from your gut, from your soul, this is who I am. People ask me, what do you do? I help people tap into their passions in life in a way that are organized and aligned to principle, and they can share it with everybody that they walk in. So they're always walking in their truth, in their moment, in their experience, so that they can value every moment of their day. That's what I do. My name is Marvin. I work for Coach Powell, Training and Development. You see how that carries a different weight than if somebody asks me, what do you do? And I say, well, I'm a business coach. And you see how you can pull from that vision language everything you need to pull from that language to now articulate the benefits that you want to offer to the world, to society, to a specific target market. But if you don't have that language, if you don't have that ability, if you haven't done this work, then you're not going to have the ability to articulate your vision. You're not going to help other people articulate their vision. You're not going to get to a place where you can see each other's destiny. Ultimately, that's what it's all about. So now once you have your three most important ideas, then this is key. What we're going to do next is we're going to talk about everything that affects these three key ideas. Now, you may have said in your three key ideas things like, I want to get a new house, or I see myself in a new house. I see myself, with, a big family. I see myself with, a crazy amount of money, and just the ability to be philanthropic and do things for, major organizations. I see myself, doing those things. I see myself running one of the world's greatest professional development companies that ever existed. And so that people are inspired to come and learn and talk and share, and then go out into the rest of the world and proliferate these ideas that I'm sharing with you right now with the rest of. I see myself at the top of that, at least in a position where I can influence that. Maybe I just belong to that. I don't know how that's going to work out when it's all said and done, but that's what I want to spend my life working on and being a part of, right? I do that. I know that. So people ask me about who I am, where I'm going. I'm telling them, it's real clear to me, and I try to make it clear to them. If you want to hang out with me, then you're talking about personal development. You're talking about professional development. You're talking about creating higher quality professional relationships. That's what I do. That's what I'm about. And so if you're about that and I'm about that, then we can play. If you got some skills to bring to the table that's going to help me do that better, let's do it. Now, if you have some skills that are going to take me in another direction, like, how I can do it all by myself, or I can do it the rugged, manly way, whatever that kind of craziness is, I'm not going to go for that. Because I know I need people. I want people, and I need people. And I know that people need me. And so me thinking I can do it all by myself, or should do it all by myself, or somehow I am somehow diminished because I don't want to, that's poppycock. I'm not going for that thought process, because I know that's what's gotten us into the trouble that we've gotten into in our society right now, is knowing or believing that we don't need each other, and then not even figuring out ways to want to strengthen our relationships with one another. That's been crazy for me. I'm reading some of the comments out here. You got some great comments going on, but I want to get you guys into the other exercise before we talk about some of the comments that were made, because I want you to get your brain sort of organized. Now that you have your three things, right? Now that you have your three ideas or concepts that you think are very valuable to your vision, right? Very valuable to you becoming the person, the organization, whatever it is you want to become. Oh, by the way, I have to talk about this too. Sometimes your vision can only be experienced through the roles that you play in your life. And you should have a vision for every role that is important to you, right? So when I think about my role as a husband, my vision takes on a different character. When I think about my role as a father, my vision takes on a different character. When I think about my role as a son, or as a brother, or as a cousin, or as an uncle, think about my role as a business professional, as a community leader, all of these things help my vision take on a different character. So when you're doing these exercises, think about the roles that you play and how they may interweave in your vision and create opportunities for people around you, people that you naturally touch, people that you want to become a part of, because it's going to matter greatly that they can get involved and do the things they need to do. I see Felicia just popped on. It's good to see you, Felicia. And when you can come on camera, let me know, and I will definitely introduce you and have you look at you. Oh my God. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break right now because one of our great sponsors is here. And unfortunately, we got started a little late. And I'm sorry, Felicia. That's my fault. But you're here now, and I'm here now. We're going to make this party happen. Let me introduce you to just a super special lady right here, right now. She is one of the operations directors and program directors for the Hopewell House, which I'm doing this whole program as a benefit to. So for those of you all who help me raise money for the Hopewell House, then you understand who they are already. But I'm going to give you an opportunity, Felicia, to tell everyone about you, what you do, what you do for the Hopewell House, and what the Hopewell House is all about. Is your microphone working? Do we do a microphone check?
I think so.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Okay, take it away, Felicia. Tell us about you. Tell us about the Hopewell House. Tell us about what you guys do there, and we'll take a quick little break. Those of you who are working on your exercises, keep working on your exercises, and we'll come back to that program as soon as we introduce Felicia. Go for it, Felicia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Felicia Richmond. I have been in the mental health field since 2008. I started out in the Raleigh-Durham area. I have my BSW, MSW. I worked as a social worker, school social worker, therapist in that area. And I decided to broaden my horizons, and I looked in this area, found a awesome position working with the county and adult protective services as a social worker here. I worked there for about 5 or 6 years, and then I decided to take a position here at Hopewell House as a manager. And now my position is the program director. Here at Hopewell House, we provide services for those who have severe mental health issues. We have two programs. I have our transitional program, which is a lower level of care. In that particular program, our clients are in a house with a person who lives in a staff that lives on site. That staff provides general support for the clients. We provide mental health services in terms of developing goals for the clients in that level of care. We provide assistance with individual learning plans and individual needs that they may have in order to live successfully outside of the program once they leave that program. We work on the skills that they need in terms of individualized skills that concerning living in the home or I'm sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I get this right. Um, Individualized skills that helps them to live on their own once they are ready to move out. While they are here, we try to stabilize their mental health by providing them with coping skills. We connect them with community resources in terms of therapists, any type of medical PCPs that they may need if they are not already connected in the community. Those are the things that we assist the clients with providing once they are in our care. We have a higher level of care, which is a 24-hour, 7 days a week. It is staffed. Those clients need a higher level of care, of course. We provide assistance with individualized learning plan, developing skills and goals that they are working on, service plans for them as well. In that particular facility, we give them hands-on care in terms of helping them with developing skill sets that would help them to increase their stability, mental health stability. And we also help them with hygiene, anything that they may need in terms of individualized skills inside the home. We also provide for them community services or helping them get connected to community services that will help in terms of therapists outside of our I'm sorry, having a moment here. Outside of our services, we connect them with CSB. We connect them with Social Security if they need to do that. We connect them with, again, providing transportation to doctors, PCPs, anything that they may need in terms of community within the community. We provide that assistance for them. However, while they are on site, we help them to develop coping skills. We help them to manage those things if we need to connect them with outside services that will allow them to be a part of group therapy and those types of things. We don't provide them on site, but we will help to connect them with vendors in the community. So that's kind of what a short thing of what we do here at Hopewell House. I'm so honored to be a part of this. We appreciate helping the clients to develop these individual learning skills and connecting them, and also helping to stabilize their mental health issues while they are here. I love to see them advance, changing their structure in terms of developing the things that are necessary for them to stabilize their mental health conditions. Some clients, they come and they may stay 6 months to a year. They enroll in school. We help them to with resume writing, or we help them to connect with community resources in the community, such as DARS, such as Service Source, that provide assistance with clients who want to work, but they have a disability. So these resources assist our clients with if they want to, with finding employment in the community. So we really lean to those service providers to help our clients. Some clients decide that they want to go back to school, so we help them to get signed up with online classes. If they need to go to classes in person, we help them with that. We provide the transportation for them. We help them to just get connected to the things that they're connected to, the things that will help them with their goal setting. Some of our clients are long-term. They are not able to go into the community and work and do the things that they would like to do. So we have a different course for them. We have helped them with working on skill sets in the house that will help them to advance some of the things that they want to do in terms of their goals. We go into the community to look for volunteer opportunities for them. These are the things that we help our clients to do, and that helps to improve their mental health while making them feel that they are accomplishing some of the goals that they really wanted to accomplish in life. So we have a wide variety of people that we provide services for. And the great thing is that we see great results. And so that's the wonderful thing about working in our community and our services we provide here. We are so grateful for what we do. And we're thankful for those who are connected with us to help us to provide the services that we provide for our clients.
What I really love about Hopewell House, Felicia, is just the openness of the facilities as well as the people that are engaged in the facility. And it's really a part of our community, I think, here in Northern Virginia, that we need to know more about. And we need to do what we can to elevate and participate in creating a better environment for the residents, the non-residents, and anybody who is dealing with any type of mental health challenges. I don't call them disabilities. I like to call them different abilities, because I think that a lot of times, people can do a lot more with the support that organizations like yours offer to help them, engage and have a quality of life that could be amazing. I think back on the times when, I've met individuals and families who have a child who might even be an adult now who has autism or was on some part of the spectrum. And I think, where do they get their support? Where do they really, what's next? Because, every parent, they want to take care of their children. Their brothers and sisters want to take care of their family member, they don't necessarily have all the resources that they need to have and where to go to get those resources. And I know we've been working together. Hopewell House, we want to create a development profile for Hopewell House where that becomes a place, a space that people can go and say, you know what, we know we can get the tools we need. We know we can get the resources we need right here with this organization. And so for those of you all who are, are feeling the call along with me that want to join and strengthen this organization, definitely get in contact with us. Definitely put your information in the chat. Definitely or hit us on you have my email and my LinkedIn. Everything is strolling down at the bottom of the screen. Send me a text message, and we'll see what we can do to put you on the support team. But you need to come with something. Don't come empty-handed. Come with something where you can make a contribution to this, especially if you're a healthcare provider or any type of modality of natural homeopath or naturopathic, issues that might be dealing with. You want to play? We want to play with you. All right. And so thank you so much, Felicia, for sharing with us. Feel free to participate and stay within. I don't know if you've had a chance to do any of the exercises we've been doing with the workshop, but I think you'll enjoy it. And every once in a while, if you have any comments or questions, you want to jump back in the game, we'll let you back in. Obviously, I'm going to put you backstage for now, but you can do what you want to do. You go off camera if you want to. I got one of my other sponsors who's off camera now baking cookies. So but if you want to jump back in here anytime during the day, we're going to be done probably before lunchtime. And if you want to jump back in and add anything you want to add to the conversation, take advantage of download the information. I put that in the private chat so you can go through the TrueVOICE process along with us. If not, there's no worries. Whatever you want to do, you got all dolled up, so you might as well play with us. I see you in the office. So maybe you can stay around and hang out with us. I really appreciate it, and I'll bring you back if it's something that you got going on or something you comment that you make, and I'll bring you back into the audience and we can beat that up together. Fair enough?
Sounds good.
Awesome. Again, Hopewell House, one of the most amazing. By the way, Felicia, if there's something you want me to post about Hopewell House, put that information in the private chat, and I will definitely share it with the audience and post it on YouTube, Facebook, and everything else. We're live right now on LinkedIn and on YouTube. And we'll rebroadcast it on Facebook and all the other places in days to come. So, put that information in the chat and people will be able to have access to whatever you want them to have access to. Okay, back to TrueVOICE. I see I have a comment here. Somebody made a comment. Oh, that was me. Okay. Back to TrueVOICE. We were in the section where we're dealing with vision, and we just finished that, but we're now going to turn to obstacles. And I told you guys there's 3 key things that you need to really bring forward if you were ever to prioritize that will help you really solidify and move your vision in the right direction. But we're going to get into and talk about the obstacles that you have to face out there. And if you look, I think it's on probably around page 6 of the TrueVOICE document, you're going to see a photograph. And this is the young professional holding a briefcase, and he's trying to get over a bridge, but the bridge is out. He's got to make a running leap, right? This bridge is an obstacle between what he's trying to do and where he's trying to go and where he is right now. And he needs to get across. Obstacles are there in our lives, some of them which we know and we can see, and we can come up with a plan of how we want to attack them, some of which are unknown. These are things that we're not going to know until we face them. And so that's when we have to have this thing I like to call resilience, right? I was doing a study on resilience a couple months ago, and in celebration of my wife's sorority, and they have a term that they really, really value in their organization, and that term is fortitude, right? And it's the same, it's synonymous with resilience. And so I was talking about fortitude to them and really helping them really understand what it meant. And a lot of things that I'm going to share with you all this morning are things that are along those lines. I'm going to use some of the information that I've been able to glean from some of the great writers out there and some of the things that they've said about this. But obstacles, all in all, tend to hinder our progress. They prevent us from moving forward. But there are forces that we have to reckon with. We have to learn how to divert our resources. We have to learn how to deal with fragmented focus. We have to learn how to, just accept these challenges because they're complex. But if we don't accept them for what they are, then we're not going to be able to go into the deep thought we need, the planning. We're not going to be able to express ourselves the way we want to express. We have to learn to deal with obstacles, seen and unseen. There has to be a process. There has to be a program, a select identity that we are able to pull up when we are dealing with obstacles. And the exercises we're going to go through the next couple minutes here are going to be how we deal with those obstacles. And more importantly, how do you help others deal with their obstacles? How do you communicate in an authentic and real way that you may have something that you want to bring to the table that can help them deal with their obstacles, and they may have something that they can bring to the table that can help you deal with your obstacles, and together you can overcome challenges in ways that you could never have alone. And that's the point, right? Getting to that moment where you can articulate, the true things that you're facing, and then do it in a way that is going to help you then find the right people who really can support you, right? Shannon Adler says this: your perspective on life comes from the cage you were held captive in. A lot of times we see obstacles, but we're the only persons that see those same obstacles because we're tainted with our own bias, our own view of the world, our own understanding of things. And a lot of times the obstacles that we think we see aren't really real. That's why the connection with others is so valuable, because it helps you try to look at that obstacle from a different perspective. And maybe it's not an obstacle at all. It's a figment of your imagination or a reality that you brought into existence because of a belief system that no longer serves you, right? So just think about that. What are you doing that's creating obstacles for you that are not really obstacles, or they're not as big or as large or imposing as you may think they are? Ben Carson, who I love, at least I love his book before his current iteration in our world. I remember reading that book thinking, this is a great way to look at life and look at professional development. And so I want to share some things with you from that in that context. Ben Carson says success is determined not by whether or not you face obstacles, but by your reaction to them. And if you look at these obstacles as a containment fence, they become your excuse for failure. But if you look at those obstacles as a hurdle, each one strengthens you for the next. So in this quote from Dr. Carson, what you see is a reality and acceptance that obstacles will come. They will happen. You will have a next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And what you have to do, instead of looking at these obstacles as this overwhelming, over-imposing, impossible to do, find ways that you can wrestle with it. Find ways you can deal with it. Find ways that you can overcome it, because it's going to strengthen you for the next obstacle that may be bigger, maybe smaller. Who knows? But if you strengthen yourself to deal with, and I'm going to go over here, if you strengthen yourself to deal with the obstacles that you can see, right? You create the resources, the readiness, you create the strategy, the team, everything you need to face the obstacles that you can see, you surely can make a big lift on the obstacles that you can't see. You may still fail, but in empowering yourself and empowering your team to go at those obstacles, you're going to find something strengthened, that you're going to find yourself getting stronger as you continue to face the obstacles that you're facing. And that is why you do it. You don't face obstacles just because you like to get the high of overcoming something. You face obstacles because you want to get stronger. You want to be better. If you don't want to be better, then you can stop challenging yourself. You can stop finding the challenge. You can stop dealing with the things that are in front of you. quit right then while you're ahead, because you're going to want obstacles sharpen you. They make you better. And the obstacles you face collectively with somebody else, another team or whatever that is, even better, because your capacity, the more people you throw at an obstacle, the capacity for you to overcome that obstacle becomes a multiple expansion, way beyond what anyone can do by themselves. And what happens is you start to that containment that you think that used to be there no longer exists, because you got people with ideas and resources and connections that you may not have, and all of a sudden they're bringing that to the table. And guess what? This obstacle becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. The more talent, the more strength, the more energy, the more resources you bring to it. Okay, Muhammad Ali says, often it isn't the mountains ahead that wear you out. It's the little pebbles in your shoe. Some of those obstacles, they're going to be there. You know what they are already. And they're just little tiny things. But you don't have a program to deal with them. You know how you deal with pebbles in your shoe? You shake your shoes out before you put them on. Every time. And guess what? No pebbles in your shoes. Ever. Now, there are going to be moments where maybe along the way, you gather some pebbles in your shoes. You got to stop. Again, take your shoes off, give your feet a break, rest, shake your shoes out, put your socks back on, get back on the obstacle. You have to have this quote reminds me that you always have to have regular, committed times to deal with the little things that just may drive you crazy. But you have to have the program and a systematized way of dealing with those things. You know they're going to exist. You know they're out there. It's not like it's a surprise. Whether it's, you got to remember to check your email every day. You got to remember to check your voicemail messages. And now all the different messaging platforms, right, we have. These things, they might be little things, but if you don't deal with them, you don't deal with these little communications or these little parts, you might slight somebody that you don't even want to, you really don't want to have them feel a sort of way that, oh my God, I sent them a text and he didn't respond to my text, blah, 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 blah. And it might be a nuisance to you. But if you have a process in place where you can handle these regular disturbances or little pebbles, I should say, in your day, in your process, then guess what? They're no longer problems anymore. I have, and I'm going to share this with you, just something that I do on a regular, consistent basis. Every single month, I track my habits, and I create what's called a habit tracker, right? And it's just a little document that I use to keep track of my activities. It looks like this, right? And in my habit tracker, you're going to see that I have a list of things that I want to make sure that I'm doing on a regular, consistent basis throughout the month, every day, right? I'm going through my habit tracker, and I'm checking off the things that I do that I want to do, right? I use that as a tool that when I'm sitting around, I'm going, la, 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 la. I don't have anything to do, and by the way, those are few and far in between those moments. But I start to remind myself, do my habit tracker every day. Now, the point of all of that is, if I don't do that habit tracker every day, then these little pebbles start to affect me negatively, start to make me go in a direction where I don't want to go, to do things that I don't necessarily want to do, be what I need to be, and they don't work well. So dealing with those obstacles and figuring out ways to deal with those small obstacles are tremendously important to all of us. Figuring out how we could systematize and create processes that help us deal with those those obstacles before they become big and they really wear you out, just like Ali says. Nietzsche says, the admiration for a quality or art can be so strong that it deters us from striving to possess it. The admiration or quality for an art can be so strong that it deters us from striving to possess it. Think about that. What is Nietzsche saying? How does that deal with obstacles? Sometimes we can fall so in love with our analysis. Sometimes we can look so deeply into an obstacle that instead of trying to overcome it, we just allow it to take us over. And I don't know if you've ever experienced this in life. I know I have on many occasions. I've seen something that seems to be a huge obstacle, and only to realize, and I've thought, okay, well, I'm gonna have to go back to school to finish this, or I'm gonna have to do all these crazy things to even deal with this. And so the obstacle itself becomes the thing that I'm now concerned with, and not what I need to be concerned with past the obstacle. I'm looking at what I don't have, what I can't do, and then when you think about it, how do you feel about yourself when you've allowed something to become so big and so imposing that it retards your thoughts about yourself? You're not dealing with anybody else. Nobody's telling you you can do it. Nobody's cheering you on. Nobody's reminding you that you have the talent or skills, or what talents or skills you do have that you might be able to face this obstacle, because you're all this thing by yourself, right? But everybody else is having those same moments. And that's why we created True Voice, was to give people the opportunity to articulate and to communicate the challenges they have, the weaknesses, the failures, the obstacles that they are facing, so that they can at least get it out into the universe, where the universe can handle it. Somebody could come along and go, "Oh, I see you struggling with this. All right, let's not let this overcome you. Let's not let you become the obstacle, because you're way better than this. This is just a small blip on the radar. Let's get you the resources. Let's get you the connections. Let's get you what you need to overcome this obstacle, and therefore you can get past it." Right? That's what this part of the True Voice process is all about. It's helping people identify and begin to articulate so that they can overcome the obstacles that they face and not have to sit on them. So if you look at the three things that you said you want to do, let's look at the obstacles and challenges that stand in the way of you accomplishing those goals, that initiative, that vision. Right? What are the obstacles that you face in getting to your greatest challenges that affect your ability to accomplish your vision, right? Or to even get close to being on the road towards your vision. What are those obstacles? Go ahead and take a minute. Let's take about 5 minutes to write down some of the obstacles and challenges that stand in your way, and you can see them. You know what they are. If you've ever done a SWOT analysis, right? You've done your strengths, your weaknesses. You've done your obstacles, and then your SWOT: strengths, weaknesses, obstacles, and threats. Right? You recognize that for every obstacle that there is out there is a corresponding strength. Right? There's a corresponding threat, right? Because there's something that it affects those obstacles, and your ability to identify those obstacles can then help you know that, okay, how big is this? What is the intensity of this thing? Uh, what resources might be available to me? Who do I need to talk to that might help me even identify what resources are available to me, either within myself that I already have, or somewhere else that they may know about? But you can't do it unless you kind of like deal with the obstacles. So write them down. We got about 3 more minutes, and we're going to talk about them. So if there's anything, again, while you guys are doing that, if there's anything in the chat that you want to discuss, anything that is lighting you up and you want to share, definitely do so. I don't want to hold anybody back, and there is no such thing as a bad thought or comment or anything like that. It's just yours comment, and I will appreciate anything you want to throw in here. Anything you want to add to the table would be great. Definitely do that, and we'll have a great time. Alrighty, 1 more minute. By the way, if anybody is having troubles with identifying their obstacles, sometimes you can identify your obstacles actually by identifying your strengths. When you think about it, for every obstacle, there is a corresponding strength. For every strength, there is actually corresponding obstacle, put it that way. So if you have a certain strength, like for me, I'm very strong with listening, right? If you can tell by even this TrueVOICE process I put together, I like to listen. I like to ask questions and I like to listen. I enjoy that. And so that's a strength of mine. An obstacle of mine or a weakness of mine that corresponds to that is I don't like to talk. I do it because I have to, but I don't enjoy speaking. I don't enjoy yammering on about something that Marvin thinks is exciting to talk about. Because a lot of things I think is exciting to talk about. But I know it's going to bore the you know what out of other people, or I believe it will. And so I'd rather just keep it to myself. It's an introvert in me. But for every threat that's out there, every opportunities out there, there's corresponding obstacles. Every strength is corresponding obstacles. So you can think about your obstacles if you don't naturally think, oh my God, I don't want to talk about my weaknesses. I don't want to think about my weaknesses. I don't have any. That's the George Bush answer, right? I don't have any weaknesses. But if you think about it, though, truly think about it, there's corresponding strengths, there's corresponding obstacles and weaknesses to anything that is out there. And so, because that's how the duality of nature works, right? There's always the yin and the yang. There's always the good and the bad. There's always the black and the white. There's always the, everything is in a shade of gray. So think about that. There are some things that will help you begin to understand the obstacles. If you can articulate what they are for you in terms of getting to the vision that you want to get to, then again, you can really, really help others to expose and explain what their obstacles might be in an authentic way that's going to draw out the support they need to draw out from the universe. So think about your obstacles there, and we're going to go on to the next question. Now that you've got those obstacles down on paper and you kind of like said to yourself, okay, these are the various obstacles that I have to deal with in order to get to my three most important sort of characteristics of my vision, right? Now you have to think about what can be done to overcome these obstacles. That's the next question. What should you do? What could you do to overcome the obstacles that you see right there in front of you? Right? What could you actually physically do that would challenge these obstacles, that would engage these obstacles? What could you do? So one of my obstacles is I don't like to speak, but I need to speak. I need to get better at that for my life, for my profession, to do what I do. Because I have to share what I know, so I have to speak. So in order to overcome that obstacle for myself, I went into deep study about the best strategies to communicate, the best and coolest things I could come up with to really, really, really learn how to engage effectively with people. And I came up with this model of storytelling, or story selling, or influencing, or whatever you want to, communicative influence, called the 5 elements of perfect presentation. I created that because I took the best of the best, people from TED Talks, people from different speeches and presentation styles and strategy communication, and I wrapped it all up into a formal process. Because for me, as an introvert, I think like an engineer, I think like an architect. I have to have systems and strategies for almost everything in order for me to come out of my shell. In order for me to be able to do what I need to do with a level of confidence and competence, I need to come up with models and things like that. So I share these models with you because of my listening audience, people I train, people I work with all the time, because it's important that if somebody bumps into like, I don't know how to speak, or I don't know how to present, or I don't know how to get my ideas out, then what do? Then you use the 5 elements model. And if you'd like to have the 5 elements, I'll post it in the chat for you. But you got to ask me for them. So if you don't ask me for it, I won't post it in the chat. Because I don't like to give people stuff that they don't want to use or don't care about. But it's a great way that's how I began to overcome my obstacle, my fear, my hesitation to present and to create presentations for other people. I created a model for it, and so that's what I did. But what do you need to do to overcome your challenges, your obstacles? Write it down. Think about it. Okay, the next question when it deals with obstacles, and this is the final question, it's very, very important. What do you need to learn to overcome your obstacles? Now, when we get into this learning idea, this concept of learning, what is it for you? How do you know that you actually know what you know? How do you know you've learned something? Because I know reading it in a book, or maybe even experiencing something once or twice, does not help you learn as much as reading it, taking notes, annotating, finding ways to engage the information that allows you to experience whatever information that you have in there over and over and over again. What that does is that takes you from a position where you have read something to a position where you know something. And now you can add that something that you know to your wisdom, right? To whatever drives your intuition and your final thoughts on something, where you can be assured that you're relatively correct in that understanding, right? So learning is different for everybody. All of us learn differently. Some of us can read something one time and we got it. We understand it. We can actually do it, whatever it is. I don't have that particular gift. I love those. For those of you who have photographic memory and you can do that kind of stuff, good on you. I probably can train myself to do a little bit better in this regard, but I got to do it the old-fashioned way. So the more I can use my senses involved with learning, the more I can touch it, taste it, feel it, the more I can write it down, the more I can visualize it, create a graphic for it or whatever that is, the better I become at that thing. The more I can articulate it, the more I can share it. And it's very important that in your obstacles, you take the moment to take responsibility for your own personal and professional development. Do what you need to do. I haven't found anything yet in the last few years since the internet was really invented and going that I couldn't just Google and start to get some idea or some understanding of what this thing was. So if you have an obstacle, right, if you see it, right, you've written it down, but you need to figure out how to deal with it, just do this. Google. How do I learn this? How do I overcome this? You're gonna come up with people who have articles, and there are blogs, and there are vision boards, and there are illustrations of almost everything already out there at your fingertips. Now, if you want to take it a step further, actually get up and go to the library. Find out the section that deals with this obstacle, that helps you overcome it. Where all the self-help books. Get yourself a support group. Go to a meetup, that is involving overcoming whatever the obstacle is that you seem to be facing. There's a meetup for everything. There's a group for everything. Identify them on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Start to engage with other people who are also wrestling with the same obstacle. These are all things that you can do quite easily, quite simply to learn. You don't necessarily have to go back to school, go pay some, large tuition dollars or all that kind of stuff to begin to know things. In fact, I took the whole international coaching certification. I actually got all the information I need to become a certified coach, broke it all the way down, and learned everything I need to learn. I know this really, really well. And I haven't even taken the test to become certified, nor have I paid the fees to belong to the certifying organization and all that kind of stuff so I can take the test to become certified. But I promise you, I know and experience everything that there is to become a certified coach. And maybe one day I'll get a sponsor and somebody else to pay those fees, and I'll go ahead and go through that process if I see it's valuable. What was valuable to me was to become the coach I needed to become, not to get the certification. And I understand that certification does a lot for people. Don't get me wrong, but I've got lots of professionals that I've already trained myself to play with. I don't need to be validated in that way. Um, but I know how it's important. I'm not never saying that education is unimportant. Education is really important, but knowing is better than having a certification or a degree, or really knowing what you know and being able to articulate that in a meaningful, powerful way to those in which it matters is really what your education could do for you. I knew you'd take me up on that, Nancy. And I will definitely handle that during our next break. But when we're talking about obstacles, right, it's important that you do what you have to do. You personally take the challenge to overcome whatever those obstacles might be. If you don't, then you're robbing yourself of an opportunity to control your own destiny. And I think it's critically important. And you're robbing others because, by the way, everything you need to learn, somebody else already knows, at least something about it. And so engaging with people who already have the knowledge can be pretty useful for you. I've had people give me information that they would charge thousands of dollars for somebody else, just because I appreciated them or I appreciated what they contribute, and they're willing to engage. And this happens as recently as last week. I read an article I found that somebody posted, and I just reached out to them and said, congratulations, this is a great idea. I never thought about it this way before. I'm definitely going to use it. Do I have your permission to share your information with others as I bump into him? And he said, oh my God, nobody's ever asked me that. Absolutely, yes. And of course, I put it out there, so I want you to share it. Please do share it. I really appreciate that. In fact, here's 5 more articles that along the same lines that represent all the studies and all the research that I've ever done on the subject. And here's your specific access to that information. Blew me away, right? So we're now on the way towards developing a relationship to a point where I'm going to have to take the same person and probably have an interview with them at some point and see what we can do to start to collaborate together to create some more opportunities. All from showing appreciation for the gifts that somebody else has already displayed that they have. See, this overcoming obstacles is not that difficult. It's just a matter of committing to a path and committing to a strategy that's going to help you deal with them. And you will find that people can encourage you, and people can support you, and people can help you drive that in a meaningful, powerful way. All right, let's move on, and we're going to deal with the next section of TrueVOICE process, and then we're going to take a break. All right, the next section is about instinct. Instinct, intuition, insight, all of these categories of, I would say, forethought are critically important to us as human beings. When we are standing alone in our universe and we are asking ourselves, where do we go from here? What do we do? What do I know that could lead me forward? It's important to wrestle with these concepts of insight, because what we know about your instincts, your insights, your intuitions, right? They're 3 very different things, but they're all very powerful impulses that feel so natural and so connected to you that there's a gut feeling, a biological response that will drive you. Will drive your natural impulses. It will drive you to embrace or not embrace something. And so, just because it is what it is, you have to really think about it a lot. Because just like everything else, your instincts are honed over the years through experience, and sometimes they're developed incorrectly, and sometimes they're developed really, really well. Your instinct can be developed incorrectly when you're constantly faced with what you see as a reality that's not quite a real reality. And I will say this, and I'm not going to talk about it anymore. But people who whose instincts and abilities were developed under any type of oppression or suppression or any type of trauma or angst or anxiety or stress get to a point where they don't believe they could trust their instincts, because their instincts sort of were developed in an environment that was a toxic environment, so to speak. And in order for them to come out of that toxicity, they're going to have to find a new environment in which to grow and challenge themselves in. And that's critically important. That's why when you surround yourself by people, you surround yourself by positive and supportive people to the best of your ability, always. I think it should be number one. If you find yourself surrounding yourself with people who are not positive and supportive, or even worse, being alone, then you're not really giving your intuition what it needs to flourish and then into something that you could trust and then use for your life. I'm gonna get off that soapbox and I'll get into Albert Einstein for a second. Einstein says, I believe in intuitions and inspirations. I sometimes feel that I am right. I do not know that I am. So Einstein right there just starts to develop a difference between what you feel, your emotions, right, and what you know, with a level of mental clarity that you can do, that you are, that you can value, and it can come out to be right or truthful or honest, correct, right? It's not that Einstein doesn't believe in intuition and inspiration. He does. But he understands that there's a difference between feeling that you're right and knowing that you are. And that knowing that you are, like I said earlier, informs your intuition in the positive direction. When you know that you're right, you know that you're doing the right things, you're thinking the right things, you're moving the right things. And earlier I talked to you about principle. The more you know about the principles that gather and control the universe, the more you are more focused on. You can focus your values and your ideas and your concepts in a direction that aligns with those principles in a way that makes everything better. It requires experience. It requires wisdom. It requires reflection. If you don't spend any time in quality reflection on the things we're talking about here, then it's going to be very difficult. You're making it difficult for yourself. And if you think you've arrived, you got some more work to do too. Madeline Engel says, don't try to comprehend with your mind. Your mind is very limited. Use your intuition. Now, I love this quote because it always reminds me of this question. Well, what if you don't have any intuition? And if you're trying to comprehend something and you really don't have an instinct for it, you really don't have an idea in your gut that's going to help you deal with it, because you have never experienced this before, you've never seen it before, you don't even know anybody who's might have experienced it before. Well, how do you use intuition there? But you still have to use your intuition, and your intuition tells you don't know enough. So if you're trying to understand something and you're trying to comprehend it, you're trying to deal with it, trying to wrestle with an obstacle, but you don't know enough, what do you have to do? Get to know it. you have to truly face it. You have to truly begin to dig into it, really understand the character of it, really understand where it comes from, what was the cause of it. You know, what have other people done that have challenged it or faced whatever this obstacle is in the past? You know, how we dealt with it, and how have they dealt with it intuitively? What would their instinct tell them? You have to communicate, talk to people about it. It's the only way for you to even begin to open the door to understanding. So I bake that into the questions that I'm going to ask you a little later on about intuition and instinct. But it's important that you do this work, this reflection, this writing down, codifying your ideas and thoughts. Very, very important. Cabran, one of my favorite philosophers, wrote, "When you reach the end of what you should know, you will be at the beginning of what you should sense." When you reach the end of what you should know, you will be at the beginning of what you should sense. And in this, Khalil Gibran is sharing with us that there's a learning aspect of everything that you experience in life. There's something that you learn. But as you begin to know it, as you begin to learn it to a point where you understand it in its fullest sense, now you can see it differently, you can experience it differently, you can express it differently because you're now sensing. You've informed your intuition with knowledge. That's the best kind of intuition. We all have intuition, but when it's based on just feelings, but no knowledge, how credible is it? I'll let you make that discussion. But it's important to be able to talk to people and share with people what intuitively they know about who they're becoming and what they're trying to do. What needs to be learned or understood to strengthen that intuition. Those kinds of questions are important questions to ask yourself and to ask one another, because you never know if somebody might say to you, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to take a course in blah, 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 blah. And when I finish the course, I'll be able to blah, 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 whatever that is." You might be able to say to them, "You know what? I don't think you need to take this course because I can help you with that. Or I have a friend who can help you with that. And instead of spending the thousands of dollars and all the time it's going to take for you to learn it, why don't you let somebody who we trust handle it?" But if you had that understanding of where they're going and what intuitive they're going to do or feel like they should do, then there's no way to intercede. If you didn't have that communication, if you didn't have that discussion. I don't want a PhD because I wanted to do something. It's all ego. I want a PhD because I want to be Dr. Powell. I'll take the easiest PhD I can take just so I can be Dr. Powell. Now, that's what my instinct tells me. That's my insight. That's my intuition tells me, because I want to be Dr. Powell. I'm just going to take a PhD program. I'm not going to pay for it. I'm going to pay for one. I'm gonna get one that's easy to get to, easy for somebody else to pay for, and I'll be Dr. Powell. However, is that the smartest move for my growth and development? To get a PhD just for my ego? The answer is no. Probably I should be getting a PhD and I should probably study something, but I think I want to know more about and I want to forward into the canon of our intellectual capacity through my dissertation and understanding and study. I should be making a meaningful contribution. That's why you go get a PhD. And there are also things that I want to make a meaningful contribution in. So it starts to really inform, again, my intuition of what I should be doing, what I should be getting my PhD in if I'm going to get a PhD. See how it all works together. There's all alignment there. But when your instinct and your intuition is informed with some nonsense, it's going to take you in the wrong direction. And it's going to be a strong pull in the wrong direction. So I want you to be very, very careful with your instinct. Very, very careful with how you inform it and how you come up with it. Because there's a power there that can no longer be disputed. There are studies after studies that show a well-honed instinct, an intuition in any direction, whatever that direction is, the more you can articulate, this is where I'm gifted. This is where I just know what I know. And I can just help you just by, you know, talking to you or sharing with you what I know. Because intuitively, you know, this is what's necessary. This is what's needed. That gift, shared well, helps others feel a sense of community. It helps them feel a sense of belonging. It helps them feel a sense of connection. And that's why it's so important that you get it right. Again, you have instinct and intuition for almost everything. However, the well informed and experienced intuition, insight, and instinct is the best. And you want to get to that for yourself, and you want to help people get to that in the areas that you need to strengthen or you have already strengthened. This is critically important to your success. Because other than that, you won't know. And I say to people all the time, sometimes something just smells right, and then sometimes it doesn't. And it's your intuition that's telling you this is the right thing, this is the wrong thing. And you got to learn how to wrestle with it. So here are the questions. There's only two in the instinct category. Question number one in the instinct category. What do you already know that can be enhanced to achieve your highest goals, your highest aspirations? What do you already know? You know, let's take a few minutes to contemplate that. When I think about my role as a father, as it extends into my child as she becomes an adult, I start to realize that, you know, I'll never be in a place where my guidance and direction is not something important to her, but how I deliver that guidance and direction has to change as she becomes wiser and stronger, right? And I can no longer just say, you know, don't touch that hot stove because I said so. Um, I have to be able to now create an open environment where dialogue can happen and um, mutual respect can be shown and demonstrated in order to help accomplish what we need to accomplish, right? And it's that same way I deal with, you know, kind of all adults, but more importantly, the adult that carries my name. You know, the adult that is in a way forwarding whatever legacy I have to bring to the world. So that's important for me to make sure I get the communication right. And I instinctively and intuitively know that challenging what she thinks consistently and regularly, pointing out the wrongs all the time, is not the way to go. I know that. But then I read and I learn about powerful communication and I hear from older fathers who have that adore them what they did, and I engage with them to figure out, you know, what they did and how they communicated and what they said and how they supported. How did they get to this point? And they tell me and they inform me of how to be better, and my instinct grows. Right. So when you're thinking about your instincts, every role, every category, whatever you want to talk about, that's going to help you move through the obstacles and to the vision that you have for yourself. How do you inform that intuition? What do you need to know? What do you already know, and what do you need to know? Go ahead and start writing down some ideas. Give us another 2 minutes. All right. The second question in the instinct platform kind of revolves around the types of activities that you can engage in now to sharpen your skills, to really, really perfect whatever skills, whatever talents that you have to bring to the table to really, really, again, grow your intuition, grow your instinct, grow your ability to just have that gut level reaction. And it reminds me as I talk about this, everything that your brain is like a muscle that you strengthen. You strengthen through experience, you strengthen it through knowledge, you strengthen connection to other people. So, and by the way, even when you're reading books, you're connected with other people. You're connected with their thoughts, their ideas, the authors, the research that went into whatever the book, the material, the article, the blog, whatever it is you're engaging in, whatever content that you're experiencing, you're engaging with the people, the persons that actually pull that content together. So you're learning a little bit about them as you engage in that content. So what are the skills that you need to sharpen to perfection in order for you to develop and hone your intuition in the areas where you need to develop and hone them in your life and in your business? Personally, when I think about that, I always come up with, you know, um, being able to not just be a better coach, but to convince others that, you know, I'm the wise choice based on their budget and their desire to achieve. Um, I have a program and I created a program that it's kind of hard to say no to. If you ever saw a presentation of the True Voice program, then you know that, not True Voice, I'm sorry, my Vision Quest 90 program, then you know that it comes with a 100% money back guarantee. I only do it for people that I think are ready to take themselves to the next level. They don't have a lot of baggage, but they have tons of experience already. So usually as a licensed professional, a doctor, a lawyer, a CPA, an engineer, somebody who has a certification or license to do whatever it is they do, um, those people are usually the best people for me to work with. And I work with them for a brief period of time, and we start to develop the habits they need to develop in order to win and continue to win for the rest of their life in a short period of time. And so I'm one of the few coaches out there who like to put myself out of business. I'm only want to work with a client for 4 months, and then after that, we're done. They should be able to fly on their own. They should have all the tools they need, all the resources they need, all the people, or understand how to get the access to all the people that they need to move themselves forward. And it's inexpensive. And I got a 100% winning track record. Now, I developed the Business Quest 90 process out of an intuition of dealing with entrepreneurs and business leaders. They need something quick, they need something inexpensive, they need something that they can do in order to right the ship, so to speak, and get them back into alignment with their vision, their goals, their sense of mission, and their habits. And if we could create a system that helps them do that, then that'd be the greatest gift we could give. But I can't give it to everybody, because I don't have the capacity to share that information and that idea with everybody. I have to be very selective. And so it's in this selectivity that you can also intuitively informed is how to choose the right people by which to even talk to about the Vision Quest 90 process. Because yes, it will work for everybody, but it's not for everybody because everybody doesn't have the timing right in their life when they can embrace it and run with it. And that's a part of selecting the right people for the team. Because there's lots of people who want it. What I don't want to do is put it out there for the universe and have everybody driving at it because it's not going to benefit them without the proper indoctrination and process. Um, and they have to have the right mindset, and all that is impossible to determine just because they want it. We got to engage a little bit. We got to really figure out, are they ready for this experience? Um, because doing something good for people who are not ready for it is not good at all. It's really it could be actually damaging. It could actually cause trauma and other problems that we don't want to cause. So anyhow, that's what we talk about when it comes to intuition. I'm going to take another quick break. This time about 10 minutes. And I'm going to see if I can't get something to show here for you guys to look at, while I'm on break. Because I don't want you looking at my couch. You know what? That's what I could do. So in about 10 minutes, we'll come back and you guys can continue on the True Voice process. I would suggest that you look at it, continue looking at it. Um, and we'll come back in 10 minutes. We'll sort of, we'll the last leg, we'll finish up the last aspect of the True Voice process. And then we'll just go into any questions or analysis that any of you all have, anything you want to share, anything you want to post in the chat, definitely do that. And then we'll be back to finish that off. Remember, this is going to be recorded, so you guys don't have to stick around for the whole time if you don't want to. It'll be replayed and redistributed on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on YouTube. All righty, let's take a quick break. Hello, everyone. We are back. It is so great to see you. So great to be here. This is True Voice. For those of you all who caught us on the break, we are doing the True Voice conference right now, and we have just come back from a break. We had some exercises that we were dealing with. For those of you who are coming here for the first time and need to get the download of what we're talking about today, we've been talking about our True Voice platform. I'm going to put it again, share it with you here in the chat. Um, If you're watching us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, you know what to do. Subscribe, do all that good stuff. Make sure that you like, you post, you cheer us on, you do everything you can to tell everybody else what you're doing. Let's not keep good old Coach Powell a secret, and let's share this with the universe as we continue to grow and become who we were intended to become. Right? Very very important. So today we're talking about True Voice, and we just got through the first four modules of the True Voice process. We talked about vision, we talked about the obstacles, we talked about the instinct. First three modules, I'm sorry. Now we're going to get into this last three legs. We're going to get into understanding and dealing with commitment and what commitment does, and finally we're going to talk about the environment and how the environment shapes and moves our decisions and how we can connect with one another to really help each other grow. And then we're going to find out, we're going to do sort of do a overview, and then we're going to talk about how you can use True Voice really effectively to not just grow yourself, but to actually help others and encourage others to grow. So here we go. Commitment. When you start thinking about this section of the True Voice process, right, and it's on page 8, the bottom of page 8, there are the three questions that we asked during the commitment. But I want you to look at page 9 and take a look at this description, right? You're going to see this image of professionals that are all in a huddle together and their hands are all joined. Obviously, different sexes, different ethnic backgrounds, but all there together, sharing that moment. Now, when you think about commitment, and you think about commitment and what True Voice is really trying to get to, is trying to get to a moment where you could share authentically and be all involved and be engaged with others. Learning how to do that and how to draw what you need to draw out of yourself and what you need to draw out of them to make that happen. And your sense of commitment to the relationship, to the team, is really important, as well as their sense of commitment to the relationship and to the team. And, we're not here to judge each other's level of commitment or quality of commitment, but the fact that we are committed says a lot about who we are and what we want and what we want to experience when we decide we're going to work together or encourage each other or do anything when it comes to people. I go so far as to say in the exposition here is that commitment drives the highest qualities in all human relationships. It's how we define caring and how we prove through our actions how much we mean to each other. Our commitments take up a tremendous amount of our time and energy. We use them to define our devotion, our dedication to what we feel are vitally important people or causes. Our obligations often become the very reason for the plans and activities that we consider mandatory. Without commitment, organizations will never really refer any plan of action or confirm any truth to which resources may be dedicated. In other words, without commitment, there'd be no energy and no drive to accomplish and do anything. Commitment has to become high on the list of firsts in any relationship or any environment. It's funny because this word commitment seems to drive everything within the human spirit, right? It becomes the very core of our personal and organizational discipline. When you know what your associates are committed to, you know how to motivate them and what you can share together most successfully. So it's huge. When we think about what we're committed to, what others are committed to, it is a true understanding of a part of their character that you could never understand if you never discussed or talked about commitment and what they're committed to. Barack Obama said, a change is brought on because ordinary people do extraordinary things. Not are willing to do extraordinary things, not want to do extraordinary things, not desire to do certain things, not will possibly someday in the future do extraordinary things. Obama says a change is brought about because ordinary people do extraordinary things. What does it take for you to be willing to do something that even you know is a great exertion of energy and effort? What level of commitment do you have to be to forego other things that you could or maybe even should do because you are committed to this, whatever the thing is that you're going to do? Because that is what's going to take. It's going to take that and you and others all collectively moving in the same direction, working together for any real change to happen back in that environmental space. We're going to talk more about it a little later on. So about the social environment, when you're thinking about the political environment, when you're thinking about the economic environment, what extraordinary effort needs to be brought to the table in order to create change by the individuals, by the teams? What do they need to commit to? I love that quote from our former president Che Guevara. Some of you all may remember him. Says, we cannot be sure of having something to live for unless we are willing to die for it. The level of commitment that it takes to make that sacrifice of your life for something is a huge level of commitment. And if somebody is willing to commit to something, commit their, we should pay attention to that. You should pay attention to that thing, whatever that thing is. If you find that you're in conversation with somebody and you feel like they have a that kind of dedicated commitment to this thing, that says a lot about who they are and what they're willing to do, what they're willing to, how far they're willing to go to further an idea or to save a person or to do anything. Is there something in your life that you're willing to make their final sacrifice for? And you don't have to be a soldier to have that concept in your mind. But think about it. What would you be willing to do that would cost you, that you're willing to expend your life in the doing? John Mayer says, if you had started doing anything 2 weeks ago, by today, you would have been 2 weeks better at it. There's something to that when you think about commitment, that, you could wait to be committed, but what are you giving up in the waiting? If you really want to get better at something, then you probably should commit to it now and start acting on it now and start moving towards it now. Because in 2 weeks, 3 months, 3 weeks, a month, whatever, you're going to be that much better at it. But commitment is one of those things that drives your focus and your intensity. And if you don't have a reason to actually commit, then you cannot maintain the commitment, the level of commitment. You just won't be able to do it. And so you have to have a reason. And to me, that reason might be a higher calling. That reason might be the love and care that you have for a person on the team or for the team itself. But something has got to drive commitment, Because if you don't have that commitment, you're not going to hang in there long enough. You're not going to experience what you need to experience to benefit from whatever the effort is that you're going to share. So we talked earlier about your vision, your obstacles, your instinct, your intuition, all that stuff, right? But now we're talking about how do you commit to what you need to commit to even fully and thoroughly engage in this process of developing and growing and becoming the person that you are here to become. Paul Coelho, in his book Zaire, wrote, "Freedom is not the absence of commitments, but the ability to choose and commit myself to what is best for me." And I love that thought process, because a lot of people tend to think that if they could just commit to themselves, they would have done some amazing things. But I want to share with you, even a commitment to yourself is a commitment to others. Because as you commit to improving yourselves and doing the things that you need to do for yourselves, it's impossible to do without others, and it's impossible for others not to be affected by your commitment to yourself. Just think about it. Even if you're alone, I'm just taking care of myself, I'm just trying to eat right, I'm just trying to exercise, I'm trying to work out, trying to do whatever, you're spending less time taxing the hospital system, less resources that might come from the public resource pool, because you're committed to being healthy. And yes, while you're being healthy, you also can be active and energetic and contribute something to our society. And that contribution and your ability to make that contribution can be recognized, understood, and leveraged by others. So I'm one, because I believe we're all interconnected, we're all interdependent. Then but also when you take care of you, I win too. Because now there's a potential resource and a potential connection that I can have that's going to be meaningful, that's not going to be taxing to the system, my systems or anybody else's systems. But now when you're not taking care of yourself, you become a liability to the universe. It's not that people shouldn't or won't help you to care for yourself. But again, if that's a permanent situation, that literally becomes a drain on the system in a way. And I don't know about you, I don't want to be a burden. I certainly want my contributions to outweigh anything that I would take from the system. And so to make sure that it's the best possible chances of reality, I've got to take care of myself. I got to commit to my health, right? I got to commit to water. I got to commit to breathing. I got to commit to proper food and exercise. I got to commit to sleep. These are the 5 commitments I have to make to myself. If I'm to be at my best, if I'm going to deliver and be a contributive member of our society, I've got to be willing to do that and do what it takes. And if it takes a group effort to make that happen, then I got to join the right groups. If it takes I got to read the right books. I got to engage in the right learning. I got to engage in the right connections. Whatever it takes to make that happen, I should be willing to do. I should be willing to be accountable for it. I should be willing to create that opportunity. I should be committed. And if I'm not committed to that, I'm saying to the universe that I want somebody else to be committed to those things for me. I want something else to drive that level of commitment for me. And again, that's okay, as long as you're articulate about it. Unless you're like, listen, I love to work out. I just don't know how to do it. Somebody help me. You're still gonna have to ultimately commit. But being able to articulate your lack of ability to do it is really something that's important to be able to do. Because other people go, okay, I see what's going on now. Okay, let's talk about this. What's keeping you from, drinking your 64 ounces of water every day that you got to drink? What's keeping you from, doing things eating the food that you know you're supposed to eat in order to keep you healthy, in order for your body to thrive, in order for all your everything to work and you get the right nutrition, blah, blah, blah. What's stopping you from doing it? And what can be done? What intervention can be put in place in a systemic way that will help you start to move in the right direction? These are questions that you can ask and answer, but you got to be willing to go to the table, go to the mat with your information, document it, and figure out a way to share it. So here's question number one in the commitment box. What new promises do you have to make to yourself and to others to begin the process of overcoming the obstacles that are in front of you right now that you can see? What promises do you need to make to yourself? What commitments do you need to make to others that will help you begin this process of realigning yourself in a direction where you're moving forward and you're growing, even past and through whatever obstacles that you're facing? Go ahead and take a minute and start thinking about those questions and really, really thinking about the obstacles that are in front of you and asking yourself, what commitments do I need to make to myself and to others? And let's spend a few minutes, writing that down, jotting down some ideas. While you're doing that, I'm going to see if I can't get a little PowerPoint situation to work the way I wanted to work. I'm playing with this new tool here on. Look at that. Don't pay attention to anything I'm doing right now, guys. I'm just trying out my new technology while you guys are working on your information. Huh. Oh, that's incredible. All right. So just for you guys, just a little homework for you guys to know, or just a little bit of information. This is session is being recorded, and it's going to be re-released probably several times throughout the next week, because I want people to get this opportunity to grow and to share with one another. So don't feel like you got to watch it now. If you don't watch it now, you're going to miss something, because it's going to be rebroadcast as much as I possibly can rebroadcast it. And it's going to be rebroadcast on all three channels. So you're going to see it on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook throughout the week. And if you're paying attention to either one of those, then you're going to get the notifications. And I'll send the notifications out to my friends as to when if the broadcasts are going to happen. But, this is a process that we're going to do every quarter throughout the rest of the year. And so rest of next year, as a matter of fact, every quarter, we're going to do a major sort of half-day conference. I don't know what the next one's going to be about, but if it's something that you're interested in, by the way, let me know. I probably already have a training program kind of ready to go. If there's somebody who wants to sponsor out there, we've had some serious sponsors for today's event, which will allow us to do the live broadcast. I think we're going to keep that format going. Definitely let me know, and we will play with that. And other than that, I'm going to get back to the True Voice process. We were talking about commitment. That's the first question of commitment, which is what you need to do to begin the process of overcoming the obstacles that you're dealing with. Now, I know you're going to think we may have asked this question before, the next question we're going to ask, but we haven't asked it before. We ask it in a different way. And sometimes I know that a question asked in a different way may get different results. And it's important that you ask the question. If you're doing a True Voice interview with somebody, you're going to want to ask these questions, even though it may seem like they've already answered it, or do me a favor and let them come to that conclusion for themselves. Even if they say the same things over and over again, it's really going to be helpful for you to ask the question, because the question is actually different. And if you think about it differently, they're going to come up with different results and different answers. But I know I asked you earlier, what do you need to learn to improve your intuition? But this one I'm asking you, what do you need to learn or do to make change easier? What do you need to learn to make it easier to create the change that has to create it? We're talking about habit level now here. What habits do you need? What new habits do you need to learn and embrace to create the change that you need to create right now? Go take you back to my little habit tracker, right? The reason why I have that habit tracker is because there's habits that I need to get in, I need to learn, and I need to put them in place. In order to do that, I have to be aware of them, I have to track them, I have to really do what I need to do to make those easier. And just so you know, there are habits, right, that I have to be really, really good at if I'm going to become and be the person that I want to be. And my ability to articulate and share those habits can help me create accountability with other people. So as you're thinking about your habits and you're thinking about the things you need to learn and do to make change easier for yourself, what are they? Mine are these. Number one, make sure that I tell my wife and my daughter every day that I love them and what they mean to me. Pray, plan, and review every day. Have moments where I set aside time to reflect and review. Have moments where I set aside time to pray and engage. Have moments where I have meditation and mindfulness practice, right? They're all things that I have to do to maintain where I need to go and what I need to do, right? I need to read for an hour every day. I need to work out every day, some kind of workout, stretching, movement, take a walk, get on my bike, do something every day. I need to plan and record my meals every day, right? So I have to consciously think about what am I going to eat. I have to write it down, put that in every day. 15 minutes of cleaning something. It doesn't matter what it is, but 15 minutes every day dedicated to some kind of cleaning, right? Taking my vitamins, my morning vitamins, my afternoon vitamins, all my supplements, waking up early, and getting my day going, which I didn't do today, which is why we started late, but that's okay. We got it moving, right? It's alarm clock mess. We'll work it out. And then remember to floss all day, every day, 3-4 times a day, right? Doing that is going to keep my gut health going well, and it's going to keep my teeth from rotting out of my head, and I'll be able to keep them a little longer. And have when I go to the dentist goes, thumbs up, you're doing a good job. Healthy gums and make healthy teeth, right? So it's important. Got to keep it in my mind. Got to keep it at my top of my level. What do you need to do? What do you need to do that you're not doing, or to be better at whatever it is you need to do? What commitments do you need to make to yourself? What habits do you have to change? That's question number 2 in the commitment box. Number 3 in the commitment box, the next question I want you to start to go down is to think about what personal changes you need to make to just create some momentum towards your goals. And again, it may sound like I'm saying I'm giving you the same question over and over again, but I'm giving you questions differently now. I don't want you to just think about your habits. I don't want you to think about what you need to learn. I need to think about what changes you need to make to create momentum. What changes you need to make to start to move you in the right direction. Because if you can make those changes, great things can happen. If you can't, for some reason, make those changes, then that's an indication of where you might need some help. And again, the more you can articulate those ideas, then the easier it will be for you to get the help and the support that you need to get from other people. That's what True Voice is all about. Oh, my girl Joanne is on. Good to see you, Joanne. It's so good to see you. Joanne, listen, if you have anything you want to share with anybody about anything you're doing, anything you got going on, definitely put that information in the chat. Let's put it out there. And I'm going to give you guys, everybody is on a live link in just a few minutes, so that you can come on. If there's any questions you want to have, anything you want to share, I can put you on screen. I can only put up to 10 people at the top. But in that moment, I want you to be able to, express and get to know people, do whatever you want to do. So I'm going to send you guys a live stream link in a little bit. So if you got time and you want to get yourself all dolled up and you want to do what you need to do to make sure that you're on camera, please do so, because I'd like to see you all. Anybody who wants to come on live stream, I want to see you. So definitely let me know if there's something you want to do. I will definitely send the link out anyway, but I'd nice to know that you want to. We're talking about True Voice. We're talking about why we should be more engaged with each other and how we can engage with one another. And we just went through, how do you share your commitment to things, and how do you grow your commitment to things. The last progress and the last program in the True Voice concept is how do we communicate to each other the issues that we have to deal with, the environmental issues that we have to deal with. When we can acknowledge and understand to other people that there are things that we have to face and we have to deal with that we cannot control, just acknowledging them to each other is an authentic way to connect. Yes, and I'll talk about the small talk stuff, right? The small talk when you go to a networking event, we're going to talk about the traffic. Yes, we all have to deal with the traffic. You're going to talk about, in this case, maybe the slow internet speed. We all have to deal with that to a certain extent, right? There's stuff that we all have to deal with. There's environmental stuff that we can't necessarily control, but it is still stuff that we have to deal with that slows us down, that creates problems for us sometimes. Also, if we're in concert with the environment, it can create opportunities. If you're trying to jump into a river and it's flowing downstream, and you're trying to get upstream and you want to swim upstream, you might have a problem. It's going to be a lot of energy you're going to take out of you trying to swim upstream, right? But what if you're trying to swim downstream? All of a sudden you're on easy street, right? So think about that. There's environmental issues, there's social issues, there's political issues. There's things that are affecting us outside of ourselves that we, if we want to, may even figure out how to swim ahead of it and get in front of it or use it as a tool to advance our cause. But we have to be aware of it. We have to communicate it. We have to share it with other people. And the best our ability to do that or get that information from other people, then we all figure out ways to connect better. We all figure out more authentic ways to be the human beings that we are. So it's these external factors that influence our very lives. And these are the stuff that all of our environments are made of. Although the environment has more of an immediate effect on us, we do have a cumulative longer term effect on it. We can affect the environment that we're in. We are ultimately in charge of quite a few of the conditions in which we live. Our choices and changing perspectives help us to craft our own reality. So it's very, very important that we don't just cast these thoughts of our environment to the wind and go, we can't do anything about that, so I'm not going to think about it. We can do a lot about it collectively. And anything that's keeping us from being collective, unified, organized, or things that take away from our ability to impact our environment in a positive way, especially if our environment is moving in the wrong direction, right? So many of the environmental influences that affect us are unintelligible, right? However, there are some basic principles that we cannot violate no matter what ecological, social, economic forces deal with us, no matter what, right? We're still subject to faith, character, and creativity. These are the things that we still have the ability to drive and the ability to embrace, but we have to be willing to try, even in the midst of whatever overwhelming obstacles there are in our natural, social, political world, right? So think about it. Where do you have faith? Where do you have character? Where do you have creativity? What could you do to move the needle in the right direction? We have to be able to see the storm coming and then respond correctly if we're going to survive and thrive it, whatever it is. It could be a social storm, it could be a political storm, it could be an economical storm, it could be an ecological storm, it could be a geographical storm. There's storms out there that we have to face, and they're coming, right? So our ability to respond correctly when that storm lands is going to make a big difference to the outcome of how we experience what's later. We're responsible for creating an atmosphere for our future. Sometimes we can use our current situation to help us get there, but sometimes we have to start from scratch. Sometimes we have to go back to the basics and make sure that we have honed the skills and the techniques at a basic level that we have to hone and skill just in order to just hang on and get through, in order to be resilient, in order to have that fortitude we talked about earlier, right? Our best teachers are the ones that have discernment and have experience, and each of these are vital. As we grow, as we learn, as we become who we're supposed to become, we're supposed to increase our discernment, right? We're supposed to use our experience and share with one another what we know what we believe and what we feel is important, so that they don't necessarily have to repeat the mistakes that we may have made, or the mistakes that we see happening. So if you get what I'm saying here in True Voice, it's really all about finding opportunities where we can support each other through the storms of life, finding opportunities where we can share those storms together, and ride them better, and figure out how we can come out on the other side, maybe even better than we were before we faced it. Right? But the environment will always provide challenges. It will always provide things that we unseen things we can't do. So let's get into the question. Question number one, when we're talking about dealing with the environment, sharing ideas and understanding with each other, is this: what are the larger components of your life that have an effect on how you make decisions? All right. There are things that are going out there that you can't control, but they do affect how you make decisions. Just knowing that the possibility exists. Right. A storm is coming. A political storm is coming. A social storm is coming. An environmental storm is coming. An ecological storm is coming. They're coming, right? And they're large and they're huge. They're going to have effect on what you do. How do you make decisions now? What are the things that you need to prepare for? How do you, because you know these things are coming, how do you deal with it? What do you promote? What do you stand for? And the next questions we need to deal with when it comes to environmental things is, what changes have to be made to the current environment to facilitate more movement on your personal and team objectives? Just because it's overwhelming, just because it is huge, does not mean you shouldn't at least try to understand it, so that you can figure out what you need to do even to be resilient in it. I hope that makes sense for you guys. Because yes, I can't prevent the next snowstorm that's going to hit the Northern Virginia area where I live. Can't prevent it. I can see it coming down the pipe because I got people that will deliver information to me, right? The weather people, what they call it, the meteorologists will deliver enough information to me, usually in far enough ahead of time for me to start thinking about, okay, what do you do to prepare? Now, I can wait till the storm is about to happen to try to go to the store and get some salt, or to get my flashlights and my batteries for my flashlights, or some candles, or something matches to light the candles, and some places to hold the candles. And I can wait until the snow is about to happen. But at that point, the demand for that information, that material, might be so great. Maybe it's time for me to do that now, before we get into the storm season. Maybe I should buy a couple bags of salt. But that's a preparation for storm I know is coming. Right? There's storms that are coming in all of our lives, and various different types of environmental storms that are coming. What do you do to prepare for it? What do you do to prepare for redistricting in your area, which could cause a political storm of some type? What do you do to prepare for that? How does that affect your life? How does it affect your business? What do you do? Talk to people. If you think that's going to be a problem and you don't know what to do, what do? You talk to other people who might do. Talk to enough people from enough diverse points of views about something, and you're going to find some connections, and you're going to find some way to drive some influence, if not just to feel a little safer about your situation. Everybody's not gloom and doom. Everybody doesn't have negative energy. You just have to identify with those people who can be supportive and positive and move the needle in the right direction. Super important. Because again, the environment is huge. Social, political, economic environment is huge. The natural environment is huge. Every type of environment we're talking about is huge. And face home, no matter what it is a recipe for disaster. You don't have to. You shouldn't. You shouldn't want to, as a matter of fact. If you want to, you have to ask yourself another question. What does that say about you? What does it say when you can't face the environments that you face with yourself, with your team, with your people? You know, um, and I'm going to give everybody now join me on camera as we round out this last part of the discussion. If you want to, go ahead. If you don't want to, I totally understand. You'll be in the studio until I put you. You'll be backstage until I put you in on camera with me. And so, just so you know, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what's going on with me, some of the things that I have to offer. And then we're going to finally wrap up this discussion about True Voice, what the takeaways might be for those of you who participated and what you heard, what you liked, what you didn't like. You know, we're going to discuss it and beat it up. Maybe we can learn some more from each other. I'm all open to that. I'm open to learning. So before we get into that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about a product or service I call the Vision Quest 90 program. I hinted about this earlier today, but it's something I created many, many years ago. And it was the major reckoning, the force behind my coaching practice. If you look at the image at the bottom of the screen there, where it says Coach Powell, that particular imagery means a lot to me, and that's why I put it together. That Coach Powell, the font you may recognize from Star Wars, right? To me, that's a representation of the future. That's a representation of technology. But that little image on the side that looks like an arrow or looks like some type of ink pen or whatever, that is actually a Zulu spear. And that to me represents an innovation that took place at a time when, a group of people who didn't even know for themselves that this was possible created the innovation that allowed them to be a force to reckon with against the British when there was no other forces to be reckoned with. And King Shaka of the Zulu people used this particular tool that was invented during his reign to hold off British forces from taking over all of South Africa for many, many, many years. And so for me, that's a representation not only of the fact that people can come together to create something that can overcome overwhelming obstacles and even challenge whatever obstacles there are to face out there. And so I use those two imagery, that part of the imagery for me as a part of my company. When I created the Vision Quest 90 process, it was all about creating a process that could help individuals overcome whatever they need to overcome in their personality, in their business, in whatever tools and teams they need to use to do it in a way that's going to be aligned to who they are, where they need to go, what their principles were, their values were. Everything shows up in alignment, and we do it in 90 days. And the whole goal is to teach people how to find balance and alignment for themselves and always stay in that balance and alignment for their goals, their vision, their mission, their habits, and everything, and do it in a way that works. And that's what the Vision Quest 90 process is all about. If any of you all would like to engage and like to think about that, I got some super special deals for a lot of things. Everything I'm doing right now is 50% off. You want to sponsor one of these conferences, you want to jump into the Vision Quest 90 process, you want to be a speaker for us, whatever it is you want to do, we're doing it in deep, deep, deep discounted rates because I want to make sure that everybody has access to these tools and these programs. But you got to get with me. Because you got to have a plan, right? You got to get with me early. So you can text me, you can write me, you can email me, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you can find me, and let's begin this discussion of what can happen to help you create more success for your life and your business in the next year. Now is the time to begin that planning. Now is the time to set that budget aside. Now is the time to engage in that way. So therefore, everybody wins, right? And that's what we're going to do. So if you want to come on camera, we're going to do that now. And go ahead and hit the link that I just shared with you on YouTube. And I'm going to see if I can't share it again. And other than that, we're going to close out as we talk about what Vision Quest is, and how it can help you in everything that you do in your performances and the people that you need to be around. I'm going to wrap that panel discussion up, and then we'll have any discussion from anybody. Again, Joanne, if you want to jump on, you can do that. Jennifer, if you want to jump on, you can do that. Nancy, whoever else is out there, you can jump on. Just hit the link, and we'll get you on. Other than that, you can continue watching from where you are right now. And let's just kind of wrap this up. Here's what True Voice is all about. If you guys have listened to and understood anything I was getting to you, when I first read and studied The Speed of Trust by Stephen M. R. Covey, I was blown away at the awesome potential that was shared when I started to read this thing, because it was just about harnessing and then leveraging trust. It became an exciting proposition that I would then attempt to synthesize in real time and bring this experience closer to business professionals all over the world. True Voice is the birth of that experience, right? I wanted to make sure that people knew how to get to the high levels of trust with one another quickly. It requires energy, effort, but if you do it, if you run through the True Voice process, if you learn how to conduct a True Voice interview with other people and do it for yourself first, and learn how to ask these questions and engage people in these conversations, then you're going to find that you get to a massive amount of trust really quickly with anybody who's open to the experience, right? J.K. Rowling wrote that understanding is the first step to acceptance, and only with acceptance can there be recovery. True important. There's no way to understand what you don't really know in a deeper, more meaningful way. And quite frankly, everyone wants to be understood. It's important that you use these tools, use these questions. These are 14 of the most powerful questions that you're ever going to ask anybody on the planet. And by doing those, asking those questions, engaging, you make them important. They understand their value. You create the opportunity to leverage and create higher, stronger relationships with people that you have or people that you like to have in your network, right? Kierkegaard says life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. The more you engage with the True Voice process with others, the more you're going to be able to find ways to connect, reconnect, and then find meaning and purpose together. These are the things that I wanted to do, wanted them to accomplish. It's been working for thousands of professionals all over the globe. It can work for you. I hope you will take it. I hope you will use it. I hope you will embrace it. And I can see Nancy trying to get backstage, but for some reason she didn't have any devices connected. But you're backstage, Nancy. If you can turn your camera on somehow, some way, then we can bring you into the studio audience. Okay, it's me and Felicia right now, and let's beat it up, Felicia. What do we think? What do we experience today? Do you find any of this information useful? If so, what, how, when? Do you think it's a bunch of malarkey? Why? Let's talk about it.
Oh, I think the information was very great for me. Helped me to understand how I want to move forward personally and professionally, which is important for me. So I thank you for the information, and I really look forward to working with you to gather more information, which helps me to be a stronger person professionally as well as to grow personally, which is what I definitely want to do. So thank you so much.
My girl Nancy had some technology challenges that she wanted to share. She said, "I'm trying, but it ain't working." I feel you, Nancy. I love you, baby. I know sometimes this stuff doesn't go the way I want it to go either. um, so sometimes it's the internet connection, sometimes it's the banding. I know you live somewhere out in West by God, Virginia. You don't live in West Virginia, but you live out there in the mountains, right? So I know that sometimes those things can be a problem. But thank you for even trying. I really appreciate it. Again, if there's any questions that anybody has, um, it's asking me to sign into an account I don't have. I totally understand. So if anybody have any questions out there about True Voice, anything you want to discuss, anything you want to share that you haven't already discussed or shared, please do so in the chat. Ask any questions you have. If there's anything you want to share about your business or anything, let me know, and I'll definitely post it. My girl Joanne is here. She reminds us that we have a habit tracker. She has a habit tracker too, and I have 20 that I do every morning. Very, very important to engage with yourself in a way that doesn't involve other people. Really, really spend that time for you. I think that, 3 times a day I do that, right? I pray for a couple of minutes every day. I plan for a couple of minutes every day, and I review for a couple of minutes every day, right? So at 3 times a day, I'm spending time with me. It's me, a cup of coffee, and I'm doing my thing. And no matter what else is happening, I'm gonna get those in every day. If I don't, then I'm gonna feel like I'm not myself. And when I'm not myself, how can I be the best of myself, right? So it's very, very important that you do those types of things. Um, I have a appointment at noon that I have to get to, but I'm going to stay on and talk to you guys about anything you want to talk about when it comes to building connections with other professionals, learning how to ask these questions. And one of the things I found in the TrueVOICE process, right, as I created this thing maybe 15 years ago, and I've done thousands of what I call TrueVOICE interviews, where I've actually worked with other professionals, people that I have a tremendous amount of respect for, people that I look up to. And that's morphed into something else, which I'll share with you in a couple of minutes. But what I found is people have a hard time starting this process of actually wanting to interview somebody and actually getting people to agree to the interview. And so I found that it's important to let people know that I want to do this interview with you because I want to find out more about you. The whole goal is to really begin to understand who you are so that we can figure out better ways to work together. And in doing so, I might share who I am, and you can find out things about me that you need to know that I might be able to support you in your directions that you're trying to get to. So yes, the interview is going to take about 20 minutes, about 20-minute conversation if we run through these things quickly. You're not asking people to take notes. You're not asking people to do anything except for listen. Or speak while you listen and you take notes. You do what you need to do to capture the information. Something just blew into my door for a second. I was like, well, no, nothing big deal. It's like something scratched the door, and I realized my wife hung a holiday ornament on the door, and the wind is blowing right now, and that's what's making that noise. I'm like, what's going on? Okay, I figured it out. So anyhow, when you're doing the TrueVOICE interview, it's very important that you tell people before you do the TrueVOICE interview, what is this all about? Let them know that it's safe to share any information that they want to share. It's safe to be vulnerable. In fact, it's more important that they be vulnerable and authentic than if they try to, come with the pomp and circumstance. I'm the greatest thing since sliced cheese. I don't make any mistakes. I've never done anything wrong. I don't. If you're not having a real conversation, you're not going to get to the true voice, right? That's important. If you're not going to get to their true selves and their authentic selves, they're not feeling comfortable enough to share that real information with you, then this is not going to work. So a thing just happened to me recently that I began to understand in a whole different way. And Felicia, you might have something to share with this about, being a part of the minority community. We're not always feeling safe in the environments that we find ourselves in. Whether we should or not feel safe, that has nothing to do with the fact that we're not always feeling safe. In fact, quite a bit, we're feeling under assault, and we're feeling second guessed, and we're feeling like we're having to deny parts of ourselves and parts of who we are in order to fit in to an environment which we also recognize is toxic for us. But they say you got to go along to get along, right? I would like to create an environment where, because everybody's talking diversity, equity, inclusion right now. Everybody's talking about it. It's big buzzwords everywhere we go, everywhere we think, everywhere we share with one another. And it's very difficult for people to feel included when they've spent their whole life professionally feeling excluded. And systems that have helped them feel excluded, to try to turn around now and all of a sudden try to have this warm embrace with people that have been set aside, recklessly abandoned, haven't been thought about or considered. in the past without dealing with the baggage of the past, correctly, I think is a problem. I didn't mean to hijack you and get you into this conversation, Felicia. So trust me, if you don't want to say anything about it, you don't have to. But I'd like to know, what are your thoughts on that?
I think you're right. Sometimes it is hard to be vulnerable in those settings that we find ourselves in, and safety is important, especially for me. I want to feel safe so that I can feel that I can grow in those environments. But I have to have that feeling, and it takes some time to feel safe and to be vulnerable so that your creativity can flow. You can attack the things that you need to attack in that environment and be successful with it. Be a part of the group and feel that you are a part of that group, making a huge difference. But you're right; it is important to feel that way. So I agree with you totally.
I think that, I find myself, and this is something I'm gonna tell some people something, some stuff that, it's probably a little personal, but I'm gonna deal with it anyway. Um, I find myself on the task force in Fairfax County right now to discover what we should do about Lee Highway and Lee Jackson Highway, and naming these highways after Confederate heroes. And I find myself listening to information that suggests that it's not a big deal. Now, people are saying, who don't want to change the names, by the way, they're saying, well, why should we go through the expense? Why should we go through the cost? Why should we even make anybody have to change the names on the address of their road, especially those entrepreneurs and business leaders that have, you know, businesses on Lee Highway or businesses associated with Lee Jackson Highway. And these are arguments that I'm listening to over and over again. And every time I hear these same arguments about, oh, it's no big deal, we can't rewrite history, I I can't help but feel like minorities don't matter to people who control institutions that I have to deal with. This becomes that environment we talked about earlier, right? We have to deal with this environment. And I find myself going, okay, if we look at these former citizens of Northern Virginia or citizens of the state of Virginia and we uplift them as the heroes and all that kind of stuff, are we saying that slavery was good and right? Are we saying that these are the people that was right to succeed from the country for the South? Are we validating that by allowing those names to continue to be? Are we saying to the millions of people who are, you know, yellow skin, red skin, black skin, are we saying to all of those people that, you know, we want you to consistently be a marginalized member of our society? How can we, as a society moving forward in this great diversity, and Fairfax One is a policy that Fairfax is trying to engage in to overcome all of the racial stereotypes and institutional biases that we have in our country, because we're one of the most diverse populations on the planet right now, right here in Fairfax County. How are we saying? What are we saying to those citizens when we're saying that who we want to uphold and who we want to lift up are people that may not be thinking about the life that they're moving forward that we want to engage in? What are we saying to them? We have to drive on a highway, and they're already feeling like there's a term, right? So those of you who don't know, this is called driving while black. You know, they're already feeling like they're under assault just by being on the road. You know, how do we tell them like, oh no, you're on Slave Master Road? I mean, Lee Jackson Highway. I mean, you know, how do we do that in a way that's going to be conducive to their? And I want to pull out of the conversation to protect myself. I want to go, you know, I don't want anything to do with this madness. This is madness. But then I realize that future generations are going to continue to have to feel assaulted and barraged and maybe having some form of PTSD or triggering event, right, associated with just having to look up and see that sign that you're on Robert E. Lee Highway. And you think about who Robert E. Lee was and what he represented. If you know that because you learned it in school, now you're feeling like you don't matter. On top of the fact that you're driving while black. It can't be good. But some of us have to be brave enough and take the hits personally to overcome, this tide of hatred that seems to be um, being generated in our country and our nation. And I, for one, I don't appreciate it, and I'm going to do what I can to stand against it. I'm still a human being, right? At some point, I got to bring my flag down and go back home. I can't fight the good fight every moment of every day, but when I can, I'm honor bound to do so, and to tell people, like, you know what, everybody matters here, and if we're going to name a road after somebody or something, let's name it after somebody that we're never going to ever come into any level of contention about. Yeah, 20 years ago, I would have wanted to name it Bill Cosby Lane. Maybe not today. Maybe not today. And I don't want to name after somebody who we're going to uncover some dirt on later on, and then, anyway, think about that thing. But I think it's important for people. But that's why, and one of the reasons why I invented True Voice in the first place was for people to come out with their authentic voice and to share what they need to share with one another, and not take the same old excuses we used to make, especially in America. The excuses were things that we can't talk about. Remember that maybe you may have learned this. You can't talk about politics because we'll start an argument. We can't talk about religion. We'll start an argument. We can't talk about money or sex because we'll start an argument. And so everything that we actually want to talk about, we don't talk about. How does that help create community? How does that help create connection or even understanding amongst each other? Yeah, we might be able to get through political filibuster faster. We might be able to, just talk about the stuff that, ultimately has no meaning for us, like how good the roads are, or how big the bridges are, or, what buildings we build and all that kind of stuff. But that doesn't help us connect to one another as much as talking about who we are and what we mean and where we're going and what we care about and our common humanity. I think are things that we need to deal with. I'm gonna get off my soapbox here and share some thoughts from the audience. Nancy says, "Thank you for expressing this. It's very painful for people who are aware of the significance of it. It's so important to protect our psyches while standing up for equal justice for all." Thank you for that, Nancy. I love you dearly. And it's so important, I think, sometimes for us that's why I wrote True Voice, is for all of us to have a voice, an authentic voice, and to be able to figure out ways to share that authentic voice so that we can prevent from feeling like a lot of us feel all day, every day. We can't just depend on our families to help us feel a sense of belonging, especially if we're going to work somewhere in an environment, we're going to spend 40, 50 hours a week in some environment. We need to belong in that environment. And, we need to feel safe in that environment, like Felicia was saying earlier. If we don't, that's a problem that's going to cost us creativity. It's going to cost us innovation. It's going to cost the growth of every person, and every team is not going to be able to move forward until we conquer this. And so I'm hoping that you guys will share this information that I'm sharing with you all, and you will be able to, use it for good. It can also be used for bad. I always tell people all the time, the stuff I teach you, I can't control your morality. You can use it for good or you can use it for bad. I hope you choose to use it for good. I hope you, and I pray that you choose to use it for good. I'm going to continue to try to use it for good. If anybody needs any help, my contact information is scrolling on the bottom of the screen. If you want to engage in conversation, if you want to be one of our guests on our shows, if you want to participate in any way with this movement towards helping everybody become truly successful by making sure their voice is heard and understood and appreciated by those it should be heard and understood and appreciated by, then, me and you are on the same side. So let's get together and let's figure out how we can change the game and flip the script and do this thing. But now, if you're on the other side where you're wanting to dampen other people's voices and you want to make sure that they're not heard, please stay away from me. I got enough of that. I get enough of that. I'm good. Please stay away from me. I see Felicia in the amen corner over there. And thank you so much. I appreciate you for your gift of participation, and everybody who signed on or will sign on in the future. I really appreciate you as well. Um, this again is going to be recorded and re-recorded and rebroadcast. And the show is about 4 hours long, and so you can fast forward through anything you want. You can, if you're finding your way into a chat later on and you want to get the information that we shared, the tools you want to share, just let me know, and I'll respond and get you all the tools and everything that we talked about. That said, I'm going to put Felicia back. Felicia, is there anything last things you want to share before we sign off?
No, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this wonderful program. I really appreciate it. I've learned a lot. Thank you.
God bless you too. I'm gonna let you go, and she can do what she needs to do. Um, oh wow, Nancy's still here. I thought you had gone too. Thank you very much, Nancy. I really appreciate you. You're one of my major supporters, and I don't think I could do very much without you. You know that old saying, "Domo arigato." It could not have happened without you. That's what that means. It means more than thank you, right? If it wasn't for you, we couldn't do this. So thank you very much, Nancy, for supporting, and all of our sponsors for supporting today's program and allowing us to create it so that we could actually go live and present this to everybody. So I really love you, appreciate you. Thank you so very much for all of your help. Other than that, we're going to sign off. I hope you guys had a great time. I know I did, and I'm going to get ready for another big meeting. Oh, by the way, I'm getting ready to be elected into another position. We'll talk about that later on. It's going to be a lot of fun. Ciao, guys. See you, and we're going to end the program.